Hello, everybody. Welcome to Frame Trap. Today, I'm joined by some wonderful friends. Michael Huber at the end there. Bradley Ellis in the middle.
Hi.
And I'm going to be hosting you through this. I'm Ben Moore. Fun fact for you audio listeners, both Bradley Ellis and Michael P. Huber have a Red Bull, which means that they just got done streaming Shenmue 3, are probably pretty tired, and are ready to talk about some video games.
That's right.
Huber, there's a lot. I want to open up the banter with you because there's a lot going on in your life right now. One of those things is called Shenmue 3. One of those things is called The Last of Us 2. And I want to focus on The Last of Us 2 because that is a game that you were talking about before the show, and you were talking about it like kind of like longingly, I guess.
Yeah.
Has it been hard getting it out of your mind?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell them what you told me earlier?
A lot of things about it.
What you were doing at night.
Last night. Yeah, I was I was in bed, lying awake for 3 hours in bed. I couldn't fall asleep.
Just because of the game.
Because I was thinking about Last of Us Part 2 and Shenmue 3, of course, because we were going to play the demo today, which we did.
Right.
But for 3 hours, my mind was just racing, dude. Like, I cannot get it out of my mind. It's out of control.
Do you ever have any doubt? Like, you hold The Last of Us 1 in really high regard because it's a great game.
One of the greats.
It is officially one of the greats, yeah. But do you ever wonder if that your excitement is coming from that first game, if it's influencing your opinion at all, if just because of the way, I think when something holds that much space in your mind for so long, it maybe can create a little bit of doubt where you just have that voice in the back of your head that's like, where is this coming from?
Yeah. I have no doubts because and I love franchises and sequels so much, as everyone knows. I just love nothing more than when people you trust or love are working on something that you love, you know? It's just like, I don't know, what's a good example? Like, like Shinji Mikami coming back to Resident Evil 4 or something. It's just like, here's this franchise that I love. Here's this person that I love and trust so much. It's like, how can you not be excited,
Right.
And like everything they've said about The Last of Us of like, we want to honor these characters. We would only do this if we have a story to tell, if we do it right. Like, so there's one level of excitement for like the game, just the game, and then there's also a level of excitement because it's like, yeah, Naughty Dog, I love you guys, you're working on another game, like,
right.
But when that perfect storm comes together, there's really nothing better than that for me personally. I love when that happens.
Yeah, I think that is a really interesting point that you bring up, Huber, and it's one of the best things about interviews, I guess, when you get to talk to somebody and it's like, man, this guy, like, I feel it. Everything that they're saying, I feel in the game. And the reason I bring that up is I remember doing the spoiler mode with Corey and God of War, and just getting the sense that, like, I don't know, there was no bullshit. He just really loved the game and really put all of his heart and soul and effort into that game. And I think he was the person that I had in mind when thinking about that. And there's so many people that are like that. And I get what you mean exactly, where I think the gaming industry is an easy industry to be cynical about. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of profit in that. There's a lot of profit in outrage and being mad at something all the time and getting in a fervor about it. But I think the best moments come when those creators come through and they shine through, and it's like, I really love this. Let me show you why this is amazing. And they just, all of that stuff washes away and you get to see something great, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, that was a really good point.
Now we just gotta wait 5 months.
We just gotta wait 5 months. Yeah.
Got a lot in between that 5 months. Brad keeps reminding me. He's like, calm down, dude.
Yeah, he's losing
We got Death Stranding. You're fine.
Yeah, you got Shenmue 3.
Shenmue freaking 3.
Just chill out, dude.
Yeah.
Speaking of Shenmue 3, does it feel real now that you've played the demo?
Still no.
Still no.
Still no. It's just, it doesn't feel real. I think when I beat the game, I'll be like, it doesn't feel real. It's just this, like, Back to the Future vibe of, like, they came into the future and were like, here you go.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it feels so strange on so many levels in the best way though. It feels nostalgic, it feels surreal. It feels exciting, it feels scary, you know?
Yeah, it's
a lot. It's a lot.
It's interesting with like Phantasy Star Online 2 because I really didn't like you reach a point where like, okay, this isn't going to happen, and you just move on with your life.
Yeah.
And then they announced that it's going to happen. It's like, okay, wait, all right, I got to like figure out a way to like make time for this thing that I didn't think was going to exist a few months ago. And it's just that moment where I think where it enters your life and you kind of work around it is always interesting. But we have a pretty stacked lineup of games for Frame Trap.
Stack it.
A lot of stuff to talk about.
This is a hardcore Frame Trap. Get ready. Strap in. The games on display in this Frame Trap to me are hardcore Japanese.
They're all hardcore.
They're all hardcore.
It's just like the lineup. I was like, whoa. These are all like kind of similar tone, similar vibes. I don't know.
I feel like the vibes are kind of all over the place with some of these games.
Oh, we're gonna see.
Yeah, I do think the vibes are kind of all over the place, and it's tough for me to know which one to start with because I have a sense of like this one's gonna be this kind of vibe, this one's gonna be that kind of vibe, and so I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know where we want to start.
You're the chef, man.
Yeah, let's start with Link's Awakening. I think.
Nice,
baby.
A lot of people are playing Link's Awakening,
except me.
Except you. Why aren't you playing Link's Awakening?
We'll get there.
That came across the wrong way.
No.
What's wrong with you, dude?
Yeah.
I've been waiting for a day off in the daytime. I want to start my Link's Awakening playthrough when the sun is shining in the day, when I have no obligations.
I feel
Beth
you
is at work.
like
yes.
Like a member of an ancient civilization that like follows the stars and the moon, and you're like, okay, now it is time to play Resident Evil. You know,
It's kind of what it is like, yeah.
And then like you're like you make a sacrifice, and that's how you get all of your dream games to happen. Yeah, that's how it happening. Link's Awakening. So Brad, you're a big Zelda fan.
Yeah,
I'm a big Zelda fan. How do you feel about the Link's Awakening remake?
Like overall as a remake or just as a game period?
Great
Both?
question.
So I think Link's Awakening is a very great game. Excellent game. The remake I feel like is good. And it does a lot of things that I had problems with in the first game, which was mainly the mapping of items to use and stuff like that.
Yes.
They streamline a lot of that because there's more buttons, obviously, and that's usually my biggest complaint with the original game. But I'm having a really good time. I love the way the game looks. I know the art style's not for everyone, but I really dig the vibe of it.
Yeah.
The only thing that does annoy me is the frame rate of it. And it is very noticeable for me. I know I've seen people like, it's not noticeable for them, but you do get used to it. But for me, it's very jarring all the time, and I notice it a lot. But otherwise, like, I think it's a really great remake. Some things, like, with remakes, it's hard because sometimes I want them to, like, add a little more sometimes if it's a remake. This game adds some, mainly the dungeon design things, which I think is kind of...
Hey, how is that?
Kind of lackluster, I would say.
Okay.
It's very basic and not... I wish there was more from it.
Got it.
I think the concept is really cool.
Do you think they can patch in more stuff for that mode, or is that kind of this is it? Here's the mode, and that's...
I feel like that's just going to be it.
Got it.
I don't see them patching in more. Like, the most you'll get from that is like amiibo support, which there is.
Got it.
But I was kind of hoping a little more from that. But it's kind of in line what I expected it to be, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
It's
didn't surprise
extremely
me.
faithful.
Yes.
In many ways. Brad, I agree with a lot of that. I think where I fall in the frame rate is it's definitely there, and it is definitely noticeable. I think I'm in the camp of like kind of gotten over it. Like it's not a huge detraction on my experience. I do think it's worth pointing out.
Yeah, it's not gonna it doesn't ruin the game by any means or anything like that. But it's something I notice.
Yep.
And it is like a little jarring, but it's not gonna affect you playing it necessarily.
It is interesting though because Link's Awakening was the first Zelda game that I ever played.
Yeah.
And
that is interesting. Yeah, I always forget you said that to me.
Yeah, and I played it on Game Boy Pocket, the original Link's Awakening.
Game Boy Pocket,
not DX. I did eventually when I got a Game Boy Color. I did get DX and all that stuff. But it's always been a game that has held a special place in my heart. Just the world, the coziness of it, and it is interesting playing the remake because so much of what was good in the original Link's Awakening is still there. There are still some very surprising. They're like really small. They're not that long, but like surprisingly tender story moments. I think of like Link talking to Marin on the beach is a good one. However, it is interesting when you take this Game Boy game and you make it look really, really good, and you give it all these new graphics. Things, I think, stand out more to me than they would if I was staring at
a handheld?
At a handheld game.
Sure.
And what I mean by that is kind of the way progression works in Link's Awakening, where it's a lot of, okay, you need to go to a dungeon, you need to unlock this, you need to trade this person needs this item, then you get this item, now you need to trade it. There's a lot of gates that...
Like early WoW quests.
Well, it's like... I don't know. I guess the way to describe it is there are so many layers of like, okay, I need to give this thing to this person, and this person gives me this thing, and then like... Sometimes it's just like, I get it, and I wish there was more going on here. Like, I'm okay with this getting of items and moving on kind of thing, but sometimes it's just so simple. Like, oh, I like this thing. Give it to me.
Got it.
And you're just like, we could make this a little bit more interesting, or it could be, I guess, a little bit more than just a handing off of items.
Yeah, it's so I keep hearing that it's like pretty one for one with the original. Is the dialogue word for word? Like, is the script?
I can't remember. It seems
the
very
same?
familiar.
That's
That's
very
a
hard
kind of question where
yeah.
I'd have to put them side
For
by
sure.
side.
But I wonder, if it's just...
I think it seems like, because I beat the original one or the DX one again this year, so it seems like pretty in line from what I remember.
Wow. Very, very interesting.
But yeah, I know what you mean. It's like, the game's very straightforward, I guess, in a lot of that sense. It's
Yeah.
not very complex, which makes sense, I guess, because it's a handheld game.
Right.
Like, as I'm playing this game, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a handheld game originally. Like, this is why it feels very, like, small. The world is very cut off at the beginning. Like, you don't have this grand sense of, like, exploration right off the bat, I guess, I feel like.
Right. And I think that's kind of exactly it, where in the Game Boy game, when you're transitioning in screens, I think the limitations of that system make you feel like the world is a little bit bigger, but when everything is a lot more seamless here, I mean, you still transition when you're going into buildings and stuff, but when everything is a lot more seamless here, I think it's more noticeable, like all of the gates where like, okay, well, I'm clearly going to need that thing. Like you can see all the barriers, I think, a little bit more explicitly. Whereas even in something like Ocarina of Time, I think the 3D nature of that game, it's like, I'm going into this huge area. I'm going into like this town, and it's like, it's not like I go one screen over and then suddenly I'm in another thing. And I just think the nature of it being a 3D world gives it a little bit more of a sense of scale. However, to Link's Awakening's credit, what I do have to say, for as small and compact as it is, there is they go to pretty great lengths to try to have you discover stuff. There are plenty of characters that you will interact with, or things that you'll find, or like just a bush that you'll hit and it'll take you into a cave or something like that. Like there are a lot of secrets to find in the world. And so I think it kind of speaks to the original design of the game, the limitations that they had, how much they were able to pack into
how
it.
good a job they did.
Yeah. I will say, though, that like the color dungeon is like a really interesting example of kind of what we're talking about, where like the color dungeon on the DX version of the game, it was
that
like
added in for the DX because
added
of
in
color.
for the DX
Very,
version of the
very,
game.
very cool.
And it's like a lot of everything that's using is just
Color
like, wow,
gimmicks,
look at the colors. Like, throw the red ball in the red hole and throw the blue ball in the blue hole.
Yeah.
And it's like
mind blowing back then.
right at the time, you're like, man, we just couldn't do this on this older version of this game in the same degree. Whereas now you're like, yeah, we've been using the same degree of color this whole time. And so it's just not as impressive or striking. It's still fun and it's still kind of endearing in its own way, but yeah, I'm almost left wondering. Like it's hard because the things that I'm bringing up, I don't want to sound like I'm just ragging on the game, because I think even if you've never played it, there's still a lot here. There are a lot of good qualities to talk about Link's Awakening for and to bring up, and I think it's absolutely worth playing. I even think it's worth $60.
Yes.
To play this remake, but I guess the
brand
perspective that I'm
tax.
coming from is like, do you ever have a game where pretty much in your mind you've never really had any criticisms of it, and it's just like been such a meaningful part of your life for so long?
The
I
original
see.
Resident
Yeah.
Evil 2 to me is flawless.
Right. That's kind of how I'm feeling about Link's Awakening, where it's just like, due to this new context, due to this new format, I'm like, oh, okay. Evaluating it now, like there are some things that I'm bringing up that I'm like, oh, maybe this could be different or this could be a little bit better. And so it's kind of taking it out of that pool of nostalgia and like showing it in the light as harshly as possible.
I get that.
Yeah. And it's good. I think it's good to do that.
Yeah. I think the strengths of that game is like its vibe and like
Absolutely.
the weird things it does kind of that help. I think that really helps strengthen the overall thing. I think they did a great job of bringing the Zelda formula into a handheld and like making the world still feel vast, I guess, for a handheld and like a sense of exploration. All that's great. The dungeons. But I think is like when I think back on that game, it's remembering is like the weird creatures in that game,
Right.
the NPCs you meet, like the Bow Wow and all this stuff. Like that's a big part of the identity for me of that game.
Right. Yeah, and I think going in for the first time, that's kind of the advantage that you
Yes.
have. I mean, we're talking about it here, but yeah, I think just encountering the Bow Wow and then like the process that you go to and the surprises that are in store. There are a lot of little cute surprises, and when you don't have that as much, when you're familiar with the vibe, it doesn't.
This whole
Go ahead.
This whole thing, hearing you talk about it, and Bossman and even Damiani and everyone, it really seems like this is a remake for people who have not played the game. That's just the vibe I get. Like, it's awesome for you guys to revisit it and stuff,
Yeah.
but, you know, everyone, the consensus is like, oh man, like, it's cool if you don't know what the story is, or like it's cool to go in for the first time. Whereas because it's a 1-for-1 remake, it just kind of feels like you're replaying it. Maybe.
I guess like the studio that did this, I always forget their name, but I believe they did the Ocarina of Time.
I know
And
it.
did they do Majora's Mask too?
Yeah. I
Like just with like tiny tweaks. I think there's still value in like having this game.
begins with a G.
I'm really happy this game exists, and it's awesome just being able to play it on my TV, which like I did on Super Game Boy back in the day, but like now on this, it's like it's awesome. But yeah, it is. It's a rewarding thing for me. I'm just happy that people are getting to play it who never did.
Never played it.
But
that's a great
But,
great
like-
position to be in. Grezzo. That's what it
yeah,
is.
like I don't want to say like it does like maybe seem like me and Ben are being a little too harsh on it, and I absolutely love this game and it's great.
Right.
But there's just some things that I think could be a little better. That's it.
Because nothing's really surprising you guys. I
Well,
feel
that
like.
could be it because this is not our
Right.
first time with this
Yeah.
game.
And to be perfectly clear, I'm in the 8th dungeon right now. I am like knocking on the door at the
Yeah.
end of the game.
Yeah.
I have not messed around with the creative dungeon stuff at all. So that could change my perspective a lot. But I think what I'm walking away from is, I think going into this, I was like, yeah, man, Link's Awakening is such a good game that doing a 1-to-1 remake would be fun. Like, that game totally stands on its own, and it does. It stands on its own. But I think I'm walking away from this being like, I wish maybe they would have gone for a little bit more.
Yeah.
I wish, I don't know what form that would take. Maybe it would take an entirely new dungeon, or just maybe changing the structure of the game a bit or something like that. And
What about a radical change like 3D or like behind the back?
I don't know.
Would
I don't
you be
know.
okay with that?
Yeah,
We-
I'd be fine with it.
We talked about we were talking about Link's Awakening on the podcast, and we talked about the Resident Evil 2 remake, and I actually think it's frustrating because I think it gets a little bit too reductive when people say, well, everything needs to have this moment. Like, a lot of people are saying, like, this franchise needs its Breath of the Wild moment, or like, oh, they need to follow Breath of the Wild, and it's like, okay, I think we're like painting too broad of a stroke here. Like, not everything can be or should be Breath of the Wild,
Yeah.
right? But I think with Link's Awakening, it's hard to like. I think they could have done something else, and I think about Resident Evil 2, and I think what's so remarkable about Resident Evil 2, from my perspective, and I'd be curious to know how you feel, where it is so radically different, but it really feels like it's coming from a place of understanding. And it's coming from a place of respect. And that understanding of respect, I really think allowed it to push kind of the entire series forward.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt the original Resident Evil 2. And so you kind of have like this best of both worlds.
Yes. Yes, Ben.
And I feel like if you
Yes.
like if you're playing Link's Awakening on Game Boy, you're missing quality of life stuff, for sure. But it's not that different.
Yeah.
Right. And so I don't know. I wonder what maybe a more ambitious take on this could have been like. That's all.
That is interesting.
Yeah. But I'm happy it exists. Like
Totally.
I'm playing it with Abby, and we're having a great time. And this is kind of her first full Zelda experience. She saw some of Wind Waker, she saw some of Breath of the Wild, and she's really enjoying it. But
it also is tough. Like the question on the podcast, just comparing it to Breath of the Wild, there's definitely that air of like, well, Breath of the Wild was the last one. Now we're on Link's Awakening. So like that comparison, of course.
Like for me, they're just like they're completely different games. They're not even trying to do the same thing, or like they're in different leagues, honestly. Like what they're doing.
Yeah.
Link's Awakening is just being like a very like faithful, like some new window dressing to the original, and Breath of the Wild is like kind of like them messing with the Zelda formula altogether. So I mean, that doesn't bother me at all because like Breath of the Wild 2 is coming. This is just like a cool little project to me of a cool game that people really love, and they're bringing it in a new way for people to play it.
so cool.
So I'm fine with that.
So cool. I
But,
get
like,
to play it now.
obviously, with remakes, I love when they do new stuff.
Yeah.
Like I love the Shadow and Colossus remake so much. I think the game's phenomenal. But I always wish they added in like one of the cut Colossi or something like that into it. But yeah, like I wish there was an extra dungeon or something. Just a little something.
A little extra.
But it's still great.
Little cherry on top.
I think A Link Between Worlds is a really interesting thing to bring into this conversation.
Sure.
Because it follows, I think, kind of the spirit of classic Zelda, but does so many new things, and it is its own kind of standalone, very unique adventure. And I really like that. And I don't know. It's hard because I feel like we're spoiled. And so every time I say this, even just the way that we're talking about Link's Awakening, there's something kind of gnawing at me in the back of my mind. And it's like, this is still great.
Yeah,
like,
it's great.
You're just spoiled. You're getting so much good stuff. How could you possibly ask for more? But I do think saturation changes your perspective.
Complete global saturation?
Well,
Yes, Wesker.
kind of. Like, if you told me we were getting a remake of anything, I would kind of believe you.
Yeah.
That's how crazy it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Like they're remaking The Witcher 3.
Right. Right. And that's awesome because I do get the sense that a lot of people are experiencing Link's Awakening for the first time. And I think that is really valuable, and so I'm happy for that. But I think when there are so many remakes, you are going to compare them to each other, and I think just what you want out of them, your demand will grow a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I guess the reason why I bring up A Link Between Worlds is I hope maybe that can happen as well, where they're like, okay, not everything can be a Breath of the Wild project. Not everything can be a total reinvention of how we do stuff. But maybe we can take a lot of that classic feeling, that classic style, that classic layout, and just be a little playful with it.
Yeah. Like adding Crimson Heads or Lisa Trevor in Resident Evil, like you're saying, just a little, like all the scenario is there. Like everything is so similar to the original, but it's like, all right, we're going to spice it up a little bit.
I feel like the dungeon designer thing kind of could have been the answer to that, but I think it's pretty lackluster.
So is it lackluster just because it's really limited, or?
Yeah, let me tell you what it was like when I built one. So it was rooms you've been in previous dungeons, only rooms you've been in previous dungeon, you assign them in like an order. So it's like, I can't put certain enemies or somewhere that I want.
So you can only connect existing rooms.
Yes. Like I haven't messed with it in a little bit, so maybe it changes a bit more, but when my initial impression was I wanted a little more from it.
Okay.
Because like the idea of making your own Zelda dungeon, especially, it's not a total fair comparison, but like Mario Maker where you can do so much in Zelda where it's just like super limited and it feels like a neat idea they had, but they didn't really do much with. it feels like a wasted opportunity to me, pretty much.
Damn.
I think part of because Brett, you brought it up earlier, and it's a really good point, and it got me thinking. And I think why it feels especially strange with Link's Awakening is because Link's Awakening does have so much weirdness in it. It does have so much goofiness in it, and it doesn't feel like it's just treating Zelda like this super sacred thing that cannot be changed. There's like kind of this like goofy spirit in the original game, and so for it to be so like slavishly recreated, I think like there's a little bit of conflict there. Yeah, with kind of the spirit of those things. But talking about remakes, I think there are games that could stand to be like given a new perspective. I think Zelda 2 is prime.
Yeah, Zelda 2,
for a
sure.
remake. I think there is so much good in that game, and maybe if tweaked a little bit or presented through a different lens, I think a lot of that could be amplified. And
Could
and shown.
Zelda 2 be a Souls-like game?
Yes.
I mean, sure,
it could
yeah.
be.
Do you think that would
But the
fit?
way we're going with Souls like though,
I know.
Maybe I
It's
want to pump the brakes.
good,
on
okay.
Souls like.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True. I don't know why my mind went there. Zelda 2 seems like that vibe.
Well, because Zelda 2 has like some elements that
Yeah.
aren't in like other games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, even this the way that you approach enemies, like
In Zelda 2's,
like
yeah.
having to pay attention and attack them in a specific way. Like,
Yeah.
I get it for sure. All right. Well, do we have anything else that we want to say about Link's Awakening?
I like Link's Awakening a lot. It's
Sounds
a
like
great
you
game.
guys love it, but they played it a little safe. Is your kind of general consensus?
Maybe. Yeah, I guess. I just like a little more usually from it. I don't think they play it safe with the art style at all because a lot of people seem pissed about it.
That is just... It's people not liking cartoony styles, I feel like. You know? Yeah, it goes back to Fortnite.
Yeah,
where,
I mean, I
like,
don't know. Kyle doesn't like it, I know, but
Yeah.
like he likes Wind Waker. It's just, I don't know, it's just a visual thing if it's pleasing to your eyes or not.
I just feel like there
Yeah.
are people that just don't like cartoony looks.
Sure,
Which is totally fine, I get it, but it does seem weird because I think it looks really pretty and colorful and cool.
Yeah, I can't speak for Kyle, but there's something like I get pretty pissy about Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes. Because Metal Gear Solid 1 is like it's that game like I love so many games, but that game is just
It's
like
probably the most important one to
right
you.
like yeah, if they change anything, if anything sounds like slightly off, it's just like no, like
Yeah.
just being very. And I think maybe Kyle feels that way about Link's Awakening.
Sure,
where
yeah.
It's like, hey, like this, you didn't need to do this way. He did say though, interestingly, that if it was the Link's Awakening in his mind, he'd pay $120 for it. So
Yeah.
just get Kyle to make Link's Awakening.
I know.
Shit. Yeah, I still love Link's Awakening
Yeah,
too. I
it's
think it all
great.
comes down to expectations though.
Yep.
Which is something that we talked about on the last Frame Trap. And it's interesting how my perspective on Zelda games and even Mario games has shifted because I remember at the time like the Wind Waker conversation was pretty obnoxious and it felt kind of overwhelming.
Cartoony.
Yeah,
There it is.
cartoony.
People don't like cartoony, dude. It is a thing. Like, people
Yeah.
will just look at a cartoony thing and be like, not for me,
Sure.
which I get. That's fine.
Right, and with Skyward Sword, there was a lot of pushback against that game, and then I actually played through the whole thing a couple of years later, and I was like, no, I love this, but I felt like I was able to get away from the noise a little bit,
Yeah.
and I think that's really important, and I feel like with Link's Awakening, I'm kind of getting away from my own noise, you know, where like it was in kind of this like vaunted place, and this remake was just kind of a little bit of perspective.
Yeah.
I guess.
I replay my favorite games all the time. You know? I'm just thinking about that. But I feel like Link's Awakening, like, when's the last time you guys busted out your Game Boy to play Link's Awakening?
The original?
Yeah.
Like,
When's
I
the last
think
time you
my
guys
Game
played
Boy's
the
I feel like
original?
I was playing it. Well, it wasn't the original.
Well,
it was DX.
I played
playing it.
DX this year.
It was on 3DS. I think
Yeah,
at
that's
some
what I
point.
did on, yeah.
It was a while ago.
Re-released on 3DS. That's
Played
awesome.
it when I was in Hawaii, dude. Max vibes.
So perfect.
Yeah. I saved it for that, some of it for that.
That is
That's really good.
excellent.
Yeah. Let's talk about something that I think we pretty much only have positive feelings on, at least so far, and that's River City Girls.
Yeah.
Yes. What's the opposite of a hot take? A hype take? I don't know, man. River City Girls is the best friggin' beat 'em up I've played in the
Cold
10
take?
years,
A
dude.
wet towel.
It's the best. This is my
best
favorite
beat
beat 'em up in so long. So long. Like, when was Scott Pilgrim? Maybe 2013 or something?
Yeah.
Like,
Something
it's
like
in
that.
that. It's in that category
Realm.
immediately.
Huber, it's a really frustrating time because people will get really excited about a game and they'll tell me and they'll be like, dude, you got to play this. And it's like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm playing like 4 things right now. I can't.
Yeah.
And River City Girls is kind of that way where I got to play the beginning of it and I'm like, I love this.
Yes.
And I know that when I keep playing it,
Yep.
I will probably love it.
Yes.
And it seems like you were just confirming that.
Yeah.
So when you say it's one of the best beat 'em ups recently, why is that?
So I want to start with the presentation and the story, okay? The story is anime stuff. They're trying to rescue their boyfriends, whatever, right? Like, basic premise. But the way the story is presented to me is the best possible way to bring old school beat 'em ups into the modern. You know, it added enough story, it added enough elements and character for me to get invested on that sense, which is hard to do in a beat 'em up. You know, I'm there to just like beat up
punch
thugs,
stuff.
and it's always so basic. And every time you fight a boss, there's this really sick anime intro of the boss. Huge big banter with the boss. Who are you? Sure, it can be expository, but like it gives each boss flavor. There's just enough story there without it being annoying, without really having to pay attention. You can skip it if you want, but there's enough there to just kind of keep the whole game glued together in a meaningful way.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think that was very well said. I think it comes down to Way Forward just being pretty fucking awesome.
Yes.
Really, at the end of the day, there's
Yeah.
another game that we'll talk about that I think exemplifies that. But I think the reason Way Forward is awesome ties back into the earlier point that you were making at the beginning of Frame Trap, which is seeing passion on display, where it's
Yeah.
undeniable. And I think that's what River City Girls exhibits,
dude.
where it's like, these fucking nerds just love anime. They love beat 'em ups.
Yeah.
They love River City Ransom. It's
Yep.
so obvious. It's pouring out of every single thing that they do, and that's what makes it so much fun to be a part of. You feel like you're somehow just like shaking hands with the developers, being like, man, it's cool that we get to be excited about this together.
Yeah.
Like it's awesome when you get to play a game that is just like so happy to be there.
Yes, dude. Yes.
It really is. It's pretty remarkable. And I don't know, it's respectful, but it's kind of tying into what we were saying about like Link's Awakening. It definitely feels like it has its own personality. Like
Yeah.
it's being playful. Like in
Yeah.
a lot of ways, it's kind of what you would expect it to be. But I think it's the flourishes. I think it's the presentation. I think the way it's going about it
Yeah.
that really make it exciting and make it feel new.
Yeah. It's in the River City universe, which I admittedly don't know too much about. But like the boyfriends you're rescuing are like some of the main characters from the franchise, which is cool. But so you have the story in the world, like tying everything together and keeping you invested that way. But then, of course, economy. You're leveling up, you're getting cash, you're buying food from shops that raise your stats, you're finding accessories to kind of buff you up, you're going to the dojo to learn new moves. Like, all of that is really fun to get invested in a beat 'em up, which is traditionally like,
Right.
you know, other than, of course, like, I guess there's a lot of beat 'em ups that have like progression in that sense, but it's just handled really, really well here. There's also side quests, so you can get invested in the map and kind of just like explore side rooms. And then, of course, the combat. The combat's tight, feels good. You can't really punish people when they're like knocked down. The game kind of, well, you can like stomp on them, but like
The stomp's really good.
The stomp's really good, but as soon as they get up, they have this like split second
right.
iframe that gets you.
There are definitely times where you're like, I want to keep hitting you or I
Yeah,
want to punish this
but I
thing, and it's
don't,
like the game's like, no, like,
Yes.
you gotta be somewhat mindful of what you're doing.
And there's like the combat evolves just enough in kind of a basic way, I suppose. But like you start out with like a 2-hit combo and then a finisher. You can buy more moves, then it becomes 3 hits, finisher, 4 hits. You can kind of mix that up. Some will knock enemies back, some will juggle them up, or stuff like that. The combat just feels really good to punch people. There's a recruit system that seemed tacked on. I didn't really get a lot of use out of it.
I really like the idea of
Love
it.
the idea, of course.
In my experience with the game thus far, it hasn't been as you like. It's one of those things where you have kind of that moment where you're like, oh yeah, that's there. I should use that.
And then
like, the idea of it is so good. But yeah.
And then you call people in and they just immediately get hit. It's just like not bad part of the game. Whatever. You don't even have to use it.
I can't say if this is true for the entirety of the game, but one thing that I do really like is I love when you learn new moves and you're just like, oh man, that looks so cool, or I can't believe that they did that. Like, oh, there's a dab attack in the game, or oh, this person's rolling around on the ground. Like, the flashiness, I think, adds to the excitement of learning a new move.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay, not only how is this useful, but I can't wait to see how it looks.
Totally.
And I think it's something in a beat 'em up where you're constantly pushing buttons. Yeah. You need that variety. You need that flashiness. You need something to get excited about.
Yeah, and you start out like moving slow, kind of, and you get faster as the game goes on, which I think is really awesome. And the music is just amazing.
Yeah.
Check it
It's
out.
a feel-good time.
Yeah, if you want
I gotta play more of it.
Honestly, if you just want a good time and like a low commitment, the whole game is definitely less than 10 hours for sure.
Did you play through the whole thing?
Whole thing.
Okay. So
And
that's,
when you beat it, you get something really cool. I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Don't tell me.
Nope.
Don't look at me.
Yeah.
I guess that is the question then, because I feel like the points of praise that I have where I'm like, wow, I really like the movesets, I really like the personality, and I think the question that always comes up with beat 'em ups is, how does that hold through to the end of the game?
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're just like getting stronger and you're invested in the story by then, and
Yeah.
and maybe like right when the combat is like, all right, I'm kind of just knocking people around, kind of
Right.
samey. It's like, all right, I see the end though. So like, it never once was a chore. It never once wore out its welcome.
Okay.
It stays just long enough to get invested, and then it gets out. You know,
So
you
I
get
read-
attached.
I read Game Informer's review of it, and one of their complaints was that you just hit walls where, and I'm paraphrasing, so so forgive me if this is not exactly right, Game Informer, but I believe the sentiment that they were trying to express is that you hit walls where it kind of feels like you need to grind a little bit, and when I was playing it and when we were playing it on stream, I actually felt like I was progressing at a pretty smooth rate, and that like you're given enough openness to not make it feel like a slog.
Yeah.
Where do you fall on that?
I feel like I never hit a wall because I realized that I don't think the game really tells you, but I realized early on that when you buy a food item and you eat it for the first time, you get a permanent stat buff. So I immediately went to all the shops
Got
Right.
everything.
and I just started buying, eating.
Right, and so
And
you feel like as long
I
as you were
felt-
paying attention
yeah.
to the shop,
Yeah.
you were able to.
Just getting OP, you know, and again, doing all the side quests. There's not a ton of side quests, but like anytime a side quest came up, I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So, yeah, just great game. Check it. Honestly, if you like beat 'em ups, if you've never even played a beat 'em up, dive in. It's very anime though,
Be aware.
cartoony. So if you don't like cartoony,
Anime books, man.
Anime books.
you gotta get those anime books.
That has to be one of my favorite Easy A memes. All right, let's keep the good times rolling. I got a game that I played through the entirety of it today,
Whoa.
and can't wait to talk
yeah.
about.
I want to play this so bad. I know
Yeah,
what you're
you
gonna
do.
say. Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know what to expect going in with Sayonara Wild Hearts, and that's exactly how you should go into it. But I'm going to proceed to talk about it anyway. So I've been trying out Apple Arcade, and I do want to talk a little bit about Apple Arcade and my experience.
So
with
you played
so
it on
far.
mobile,
I did.
but it's also on Switch and PS4, or am I wrong?
I can't speak to all the platforms, unfortunately. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Got it.
I was coming at it from an Apple Arcade perspective
Awesome.
because I've been trying to
Yeah.
use this new thing,
Yeah.
basically, and understand this new thing.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about my experience with Apple Arcade so far.
I want to hear your experience with Apple Arcade, Ben. I know nothing.
I can get pretty cynical about mobile games.
Definitely.
I think that new Mario Kart game is pretty trashy and exemplifies all of the worst aspects of mobile games, and I think it can get really tiring. And it gets really tiring because you realize, like, man, these motherfuckers have just been pulling the same shit for like years now. When is this going to end? Apple Arcade doesn't feel like that so far. And I am a little bit hesitant because I can't give a comprehensive. I haven't played every game. But I think part of the reason why I can't be comprehensive is because I've just been enjoying so much. I've played 2 full things on Apple Arcade already.
Yeah.
And they're not doing microtransactions with Apple Arcade. If you sign up for this, the games on the service, what they're saying, the line that they're taking, what I've heard is that you cannot put microtransactions in the game. And the games that I've been playing feel like real games, which is great.
Very cool.
And Sayonara Wild Hearts is exactly like that. But the other saving grace, the way I've been playing these games is with the new iOS update, you can just sync a PS4 controller to your phone perfectly.
That is
It's like you just go to
convenient.
Bluetooth, you hold down the share button, you hit the PlayStation button, it'll flash, and it's so little hassle.
Wow.
There's almost nothing that you have to do. It's very seamless. And everything that I've played, so I've played Exit the Gungeon, I played Shantae and the Seven Sirens, which I'll talk about. I've played Sayonara Wild Hearts. So they work flawlessly.
Wow.
Like no hiccups at all. And that has been wonderful. And I got a little stand for my phone, and so it's like it ends up being really great. I'm having a great time.
So at this point, you can just throw a DualShock in your backpack
Yeah.
and set up shop anywhere.
Yep.
And I keep thinking about, like, this is the way it was always meant to
Wild.
be.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's kind of my revelation with Apple Arcade, where it's like, man, like,
Mobile gaming
mobile games
has
could
leveled
be good.
up.
Yeah. Like there are mobile games that I've enjoyed, certainly. And it's not fair to completely discredit an entire platform. But I do feel like mobile comes with a lot of like eye rolling and a lot of like unnecessary BS. And this just feels like it cuts out so much of that. It feels like a very clean experience so far.
Very encouraging.
Yes. And Sayonara Wild Hearts, boy, this game is awesome. It's not very, this is a one sitting game. And it's just kind of a ride. It's kind of a ride in like those weird rhythm games like back in the day. Like I almost get like a Parappa the Rapper kind of vibe from it. Where it's this sort of pseudo rhythm game that's on rails, and it starts out, you're just controlling this character. It starts out very, very simple, where you're just trying to gather hearts, and there's only kind of one way that you can move. But every single level, they have a new way to kind of take this concept where it's like, okay, you're kind of moving on rails, you'll see things, avoid stuff, and collect the hearts. They really, really push themselves at every single level to change how they're doing it. Where it's like, okay, now you're floating around. Okay, now you're on a motorcycle. Okay, now you're in a car and you can drift.
Cool.
And if you drift, you'll increase your score. And now you're sword fighting. Okay, now you're in a virtual reality headset. Now you're fighting somebody. And what's great is the levels are so bite-sized, they take a couple of minutes to complete, that you just... It's almost like a theme park ride in the best way, or like a movie where you just sit down and you're like, just take me somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think it's an experience games need more of, where we have that constant anxiety of like, okay, I got to play a little bit of this, but there's so much coming out. What am I going to do? And this is just like the best guilt-free ride of the year, I feel like.
Sounds like 1980X. Remember the one I brought a couple times ago?
Sure.
Just like
Yeah, I'm
one
not familiar with that game, but...
it's like a one-night thing, little bite-sized levels, and it's done, and you feel good.
The style of Sayonara Wild Hearts is just so fantastic as well. It's just like gushing with neon colors, and this music is pulsating, and it ties into the music in so many incredible ways. And there's like a moment where it's like dubsteppy kind of, and it's the screen is pulsing to kind of give you the effect of the bass like just having ripples across this entire world.
Sick.
And as somebody who really likes music and video games, if you are in that camp at all, which I'm sure a lot of you are, it's really a wonderful ride. But I think what I love about Sayonara Wild Hearts, beyond all of the stuff that I've already mentioned, is how smart its design is. And we've talked a lot about difficulty in games this year. I think Sayonara Wild Hearts is like a perfect example of a good path that you can take. No matter what, you can get through this. And if you run into something a bunch of times, or you fall off a ledge or whatever it is, you do that enough times, a voice will come up and it'll be like, hey, do you just want to skip this part? And you can. And so it it feels like it's catering to somebody that just wants to go along for the ride very, very well. But there's also a rating system. And so when you get to the end of the level, it will tell you, hey, you got a bronze rank, or you got a silver rank, or you got a gold rank. And the levels are so short that you're like, no, I could do better on that.
Nice.
That only took me a couple of minutes. I feel like I want to go further. And the gold is hard enough to get where it's like kind of satisfying trying to go that and trying to track your progress. And so it doesn't feel like this completely mindless thing if you don't want it to be. But wherever you're at, if you're like, I just want to go along for the ride, or like, no, I really want to do well, it feels like it's catering to you seamlessly. Like, you can just kind of do it on the fly immediately. It's not like you have to go into a menu and, like, tune things exactly how you want, or, like, play the whole game and then unlock this new thing and then try that. It's just like, where are you at right now, man? And I think that seamlessness
Very smart.
is very, very, very smart. And just the little things that they do throughout the level where it's like, okay, you don't really need to find a path forward because it's on rails, and a lot of the collectibles are very easy to get. But there are, every once in a while, this collectible that's, like, out of the way, or you're going to have to be kind of dexterous to get it and then get back. And so just, like you miss it, and you're like, I'm going to restart. I want to get that thing.
Nice.
And just small design choices like that are fantastic. And it I don't know, for a game that does so many different styles, and it really does, like, it's a kind of game where you don't know what's going to happen next, and I think that's so smart about it. It never kind of loses this simplicity as well. And I think that is so smart. Like, for as wild as it gets visually, and even like as wild as it gets in terms of how you control it, there's always this kind of restraint present as well, where it never gets so crazy that you're like, okay, I can't even process what's going on. Like, there are times where you're like, man, a lot's going on, but you always feel like it has your interests at heart, I guess, as a player, which is really cool. And so, yeah, I'm very impressed with it. Very, very impressed with it. Very impressed.
Probably play that
with
tonight,
Apple
man.
Play. Yeah. It's how long to beat says like an hour and a half. I can't recall exactly how long it took me, but somewhere around there I think is probably accurate.
Cool.
Brad,
Yeah.
you're the Souls man.
I guess.
And I think you're
Hey, you're the Souls guy.
Yeah.
I think that is, yeah.
Did you know
it's
you're
not
the
fun
Souls
being
guy?
pigeonholed, so
I
I'm not
did.
trying to pigeonhole you. But the reason
okay,
that
I
I
like
say
'em.
that,
I'm
cool
cool
with
with
it,
being
yeah.
the Resident Evil guy, man. It's an honor.
Yeah, it's cool. I like those games.
no, we all like Souls. But the reason I say that is because you have two Souls-like games to talk about.
Yeah.
And I can talk a little bit about one of them, but I can't talk about the other
That's
one.
what I meant. We had two Souls game and the game I still have to talk about.
Yeah. Let's talk about Code Vein.
Code Vein. Yes.
Cold Vein!
When did they announce this game?
14 years ago.
It feels like it.
This is a long time ago.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Has it been like 4 years? I don't know. Code Vein. I've not finished this game yet. I'm currently.
We've talked about it in like multiple frame drops.
Yeah.
At least one other one.
Yeah, I haven't finished this yet. I'm working on the review, so I'm making my way through it. Was it you that told me they said it's not anime?
Was that Code Vein? They were like, we're not anime.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were like,
yeah.
I don't remember the exact quote, but I believe it was something like, we don't want to make it too anime. And you're like, come on now. This is
Just embrace it.
Yeah. Just come on now.
Be what you are.
There's an anime intro at the beginning, so and it's very long. Actually, I was surprised.
Well, and just the character designs and everything.
It's so animated,
yeah,
but it's not like not a bad way. It's
embrace
just it is.
Yeah,
That's just what it is. It's fine.
It's not a criticism, but like, don't try to be like, no, we didn't go too
Yeah,
far.
it's anime like vampire game. You're pretty much like a vampire almost. Yes, you're not
That,
like so.
that actually raised my hypotick.
Let me explain this
just
to you.
ticked up a little bit.
Let me just explain this to you.
I love vamps.
You're not biting people's necks.
Okay.
You're not
Like,
doing
I
anything
said,
like that. But
Do
blood,
you get bit?
No. But like blood is like a part of the game and stuff like that. And like humans, like people are like kind of like vampires needing blood and stuff like that.
cool.
It's very like basically groundwork. It is a Souls game at the beginning.
Really quick question.
Yes.
Is the word vampire
I don't
said in the game?
think it's said actually. I don't think they say
But
like
it's
that.
vampire-esque.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You like where these like
On the back of the box, it says explicitly, for people who love vamps.
Yeah. It's very like when you first look at it and you're playing it for the first time, it's very much Souls like I guess.
Got it.
Combat, you parry, you dodge, all that kind of stuff. But it has its unique thing is this kind of like I would say almost this class system. So pretty much you unlock classes, I guess, which have separate moves in them.
Ooh.
And by having these equipped, there's stuff like you could shoot ice, or you could have like a passive effect like more health. As you like kill enemies most of the time, you eventually unlock it, so you can add it onto another class that you're playing as. So you could play as this class that's like a sword class, like more focused on swords and stuff like that, but you can have some magic if you want. But each of these classes you equip pretty much give you stats. So like this job will give you, whatever class job will give you higher strength overall. So you might want to use this if you're using strength weapons and like synergize abilities together like that. But it gives you a bit of freedom to like experiment with moves and kind of build it how you want to build.
Nice.
You can also unlock new abilities by finding like memories, I guess. I don't know the exact words for everything right now, but they're like blood memories almost. Like you get these things that someone like you relive memories of these characters and you get new abilities from them.
Cool.
And one thing I really like about this game is the game puts a lot of effort into a story in making you try to like care about these characters and telling you what's going on. There's a ton of cutscenes.
Tell me right now, Brad.
Yeah.
Do you care about these characters?
Some of them are pretty dope.
Wow.
I got some of my boys there, dude.
That is like not what I expected at
They're
all.
not-
Man,
it's
I
not like-
can't. I don't.
That's shocking.
It's not
don't feel
like
that way.
it's not super like deep characters, but I
Yeah.
like them.
They've got a good.
It's not
good
like-
archetypes, maybe. Or
Yeah,
like a
they're
good-
I just like having them around. They're cool, dude. Like I like them. They're fine.
Is there somebody that's all about the cash?
When did
No.
you start feeling that way? Because I've played through the intro multiple times now, and I just
Well, it gets past all that. Like, there's a hub. Did you get to the hub? It's like past some of
when
that.
I played the beta, I got to the hub.
You get some more of that. Like, I mean, it gets fleshed out more over time. You start to like I said, you get these blood things, their memories, and you start to learn more about like who you're with and like how they came to the situation.
Cool.
It's just something I appreciate that helps set it apart. Besides its like class system, I'd say, because it does not shine in levels, level design. I don't think it shines at all. Like, it gets a little more complex. It's fine. Like, not everything needs to be super crazy, but sometimes it can get kind of boring.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, okay. There is some blatant stuff where I'm like, oh, you just took a Dark Souls zone. 100%. I'm like, oh, this is a Dark Souls zone, but
Brad.
worse in every way.
Brad, where I'm at with this game right now is I am struggling to have the motivation to be enthused about it. I don't think it's bad.
No.
I don't. But I also don't think it is giving me anything to want to.
Sure,
in a sea of things, I just don't feel the motivation to commit to it. And I think kind of what we were talking about with remakes, there are a lot of Souls-like options, and they seem to be ever increasing.
Yeah.
I have two major problems in the early goings of Code Vein. The first is that the way combat feels, there's something off about like hits. Like there's not enough weight into swings for
Kind of, yeah. I don't know. Like, I've been playing a lot of Souls-like, so I'm like, I guess not everything is from software quality to me. Like, it just can't be, which is fine. But like, I think it does enough where I'm like, okay, it's fine. It's satisfying enough, but it's not like that feeling that you love or something like that.
Right.
It's fine.
Swords clashing.
It's fine.
right. And
But that might not be enough for a lot of people.
right, but it where I come from with Code Vein is like, well, okay, if the combat is just fine, then I need to lean on other things a little bit more. Like I need to be enchanted by the world or the characters or whatever. And the way that game starts, it has to be like the most generic, like post-apocalyptic, hey, it's a ruined city and everything kind of looks the same.
Yes.
And the enemies
that starting
pretty
zone
much,
is like very, very, very straightforward and kind of boring.
Yeah. And perhaps it gets a lot better. But
It doesn't get a lot better. It gets a little better, though.
Okay.
Where I'm like, oh, okay, I got some, like, different ways to go or something like that, or jump down here or something like that.
Right. And, yeah, you're absolutely right that not everything can be from software quality, but it's just like, I don't know how, like, I don't need a worse version of this in my life.
Isn't
Kind of where
that-
I'm coming from.
That's a conversation, though, Ben.
Yeah.
That is a scary place to be in with this many games, dude. It's like I always question. It's like, why am I playing this when there are so many options of?
Yeah.
Why would I settle for a 7 when there's 10s out there? or
Yeah.
9s or 8s. What do we do?
I think Neo is a really good game to bring up. I think there are plenty of criticisms to levy against Neo, but the way that I feel when I play Neo is like, man, this combat, the
Top tier.
stances, the key pulse that you do, there is enough going on here that I need more of it. And I think when you're being an imitator, that's kind of the perspective that you need to come from. And to Code Vein's credit, it's doing some things. You mentioned the classes, but it's also doing this kind of AI companion thing. Talk about that. Do you think there is value there?
They are super OP, dude. I'll tell you that. They can really wreck stuff, which is cool. Like, have someone with you who's like your companion, and they can really like, they don't feel like a burden at all.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I've just letting them fight guys where I'm like, I'm going to take a second, let them kill these dudes. So that's been cool. The game was super easy for a while. Then there's a part where it just went like
Whoa.
a difficulty spike where I was like, oh my God, I didn't see this coming.
Can you play this entire game co-op?
With another player?
Yeah.
I don't know yet.
Okay.
It just came out, I think, yesterday. So I'm not sure yet. I know I'm pretty sure you can like summon people.
Okay.
But maybe I have to check all that stuff out, but I don't know yet.
For sure.
I mean, was the difficulty spike when it happened to you? Was that an interesting conundrum where you're like, man, I can be all these classes. This gives me an excuse to be more experienced. Like,
I mean,
I'm
I'm experimenting with everything right now. Like, I'm not necessarily trying to be like the best I can be, but I'm just like messing with everything at this moment.
Yeah.
But like, there was a point where there's like these weird invasions where you get invaded by the computer. It seems like there's just like waves coming at you.
Yeah.
It's like kind of weird. You're just like, okay, like these guys are coming at me and just kill them. But there's like a bunch of them, and I just got rushed by a bunch of these like newer type of enemies that are way tougher than the other ones I've been fighting. That like killed me a bunch of times. I was just like, whoa. Okay, let me think about this real quick.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, let me like level up a little bit. Then I like changed a few things. I like upgraded my weapon a bit, and I was like, oh, okay. The game wants me to be at a certain point, I feel like, at this point in the game. So let me get to that point.
Got it.
Brad, I think fear is maybe too strong of a word, but I have this apprehension, let's say, and it's why I keep revisiting Code Vein. Like, pretty much every time I've encountered it at events and then the beta and now with the full release, I'm like, yeah, I just don't know, man.
Yeah, sure.
But there's always the apprehension. And I'm like, am I reaching this judgment too quickly? Is there more there than I really like? I feel like multiple times of kind of coming to this conclusion. Like,
well, it just depends. Like, do you enjoy the class kind of system or whatever, unlocking new abilities and trying them out? Do you enjoy your companions in any way? Do you enjoy just like fighting or anything like that? It's like, do you like any of this? That's what it comes down to. And if you don't, then like you don't.
Yeah.
It's a weird situation where I think I stand by. I think this is not bad necessarily,
No,
but I don't
think
know.
it's bad.
I don't know because I'm not reviewing this game. I don't know if this is good enough.
I'm like enjoying my time with it. It's turning into like a weird guilty pleasure of mine where
Right.
I feel like it has problems in a lot of ways, but I still like kind of enjoy doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So like that's what it is for me right now. Like it's not like amazing or anything, but I think it's fine. But there's certain hooks that I like about it, and I kind of want to find out more about what's going on with some of these characters.
Like,
That's
Ben,
cool.
you definitely said we were getting there with the Souls genre of it being too much, but I still think, like, I know you get sick of us praising Souls. I know. I get it. But, like,
I mean, if you
the genre, the
worth
Souls,
praising.
right? It's like the Souls
Right.
genre is still just, it's so exciting and just so fun. Like, I love that genre. So, I mean, even though Code Vein might not be the best in the genre, just like dabbling in it and like jumping into a new game of that type still has merit and is still exciting because it's just we love this genre, you know?
I definitely held that opinion, and I think in some ways I still do. But I guess I'm reaching a point, and maybe Code Vein is that point where I'm like, I
now.
don't
Yeah, I mean,
like.
Because like Remnant just came out, Surge, this Code
Right.
Vein,
And
it's a lot.
We can go into this, but
Greedfall even
I
kind of.
haven't played the Surge 2 yet, but just watching other people's coverage of the Surge, I'm like, there's something about this combat. Like, this looks a little bit more satisfying. this what is going on in this game looks a little bit more interesting in Code Vein. And I guess we can talk to Brad, who played the whole thing.
There it is.
How do you feel about the Surge 2?
Hey, you're the Souls guy, dude.
The Surge 2. So I didn't play Surge 1.
Still in my backlog.
Yeah. So this was like my first time like really playing it. I like Surge. I think it's good. I think obviously the most interesting part about that series is the severing kind of thing and like the target lock, like the body lock on mechanic. I think that's cool and it's unique to that series. I feel like that's something that makes that series stand apart more. Mm-hmm. Like I'm okay with these Soul, like I like Souls-like, and I think it's great when they could take good ideas, but I think it's awesome when they try to introduce their own unique idea, and it works. And I think that works with the Surge 2. The Surge 2, I think the story is just kind of like, what? Like, whatever. Like, you're not going to really care. You're just like, okay. The world design is much better, I'd say. Like, all these environments are, like, much more dense. There's, like, actual, like, shortcuts that feel rewarding that you unlock. I think the bosses in the Surge are just okay. I was kind of like, eh.
Which...
none of them really stood
a big deal.
None of them really stood out to me.
Mediocre bosses.
Dude, for this genre, you need
like,
memorable
some of them are okay.
bosses.
Some of them are okay, but some of them just feel like, I'm like, that was a boss fight? Not necessarily in the sense of, like, it was easy. It just seemed like I was just, like, fighting just like an NPC that didn't feel like a boss. Yeah, that's what it kind of felt like to me.
Got it.
And I was like, oh, it's fine. The Surge 2 is really fun, I think. There's a lot to like about it. I think... like I said, I think the world and the combat are the best parts about that game. But it's hard for me to say because I haven't played the first one.
Yeah.
But I try to investigate the first game and like find out mechanics about it. But yeah, I think Code Vein and the Surge are like pretty different from each other.
Right.
They're both Souls-like, but they both kind of their strength I think lies in different areas, and they play different enough. I think you might like Surge more. Just from like what you're saying to me, like what you're looking for out of it. I think the Surge combat's probably a little tighter.
Well, I think it's just kind of a tumbling effect, and I want to dig into the Surge 2 a little bit more, but I think maybe to illustrate what I'm saying, so we had Bloodstain come out, and Bloodstain was a very high for me, where I was like, wow, they really nailed exactly what we were going for. And then going into Blasphemous, it was like, this is kind of similar to Bloodstain. I feel like I just played this in a way just because the style was so similar. But Blasphemous also has a lot of Souls-like stuff going on. And then going into Code Vein where it's like, okay, I just played Blasphemous, so this is kind of similar. And I think
I get it.
It's that tumbling effect where it's like all of these things feel so close together. And I don't think I would maybe be... And this is a personal thing. Like, you don't have to play these games right now, right? And so I could feel much different later on. But I think just all of them being so close together and sharing enough where it's like, okay, like, I think it makes me more critical of them.
Sure, yeah. I think that's a fair criticism. But yeah, I mean, Surge 2, I think if you like Surge 1, you're going to really like this game. If you like that type style of game.
Sci-fi Souls?
Yeah. Surge 2 was pretty hard, too, man. Some of those bosses killed me a lot, or I was like, woo. Damn.
That's a good question for you, Brad. Is Neo the hardest Souls game?
Neo?
Neo 1?
I don't know.
To me, it was.
I don't know.
The hardest one is.
So Neo, not necessarily like the hardest, I think, playing. Like the things that... Neo was the hardest for me to get through because I never finished it because I just got over it.
Got it.
Neo is very long.
Yeah, I think Neo was just too long. Some of the systems I don't like. Neo can be very hard, though. So I don't know. It depends, man. Yeah. Like what gives you trouble in certain these type of games.
For me, Neo was an up and down game where I had moments where I'm like, that was really easy, or moments where I was like, that was a brick wall. And so it was just it's hard for me to be like, was that the hardest one? I think honestly, comparing all the ones that I've played, I think Sekiro was probably the hardest for me front to back. Like it just, I'm not saying
Corrupted Monk and the final boss. Oh my god!
I think there were maybe moments in other games where I spent longer with them or struggled for one reason or another more, maybe. And it could just be that it's fresh in my mind. I feel like Sekiro, for a lot of it, it felt like it was really pushing back. Yeah. Like the drunkard at the beginning, that was definitely a wall, and then like the final boss.
The final boss has got to be one of the hardest fights I've ever done in a video game.
Yeah, I think there were definitely some moments in the middle where it wasn't quite so bad, but there was just it felt like a march all the way through, a march through the snow in a good way. Yeah. It felt consistently rewarding.
That's like the Surge is like kind of a struggle the whole way through. But or can be. It was for me like getting through this game and just kind of learning all the systems and everything like that.
Yeah.
But sometimes I wasn't like, this fight's sick. I'm having a ton of fun in this fight though, even though I'm dying a lot. But it's good enough.
There were times or were not?
No, there weren't really times where I was like, dude, sick fight.
Cool. Yeah.
Sick fight or
like
anything
Guardian
like that.
Ape or something.
No, not even like. It's so unfair for me to do that.
I know.
To compare it from software. I can't, but I think the game's good on its own, and you can have a really good time. Especially, the Surge has this sci-fi vibe going for it, which is pretty unique in that series besides the original game. So I think the Surge is unique enough where you could find stuff that you like in that series.
Nice.
So how effectively is that sci-fi setting utilized? Does it feel like other games where it's just window dressing, or do you feel like they really lean into that?
I mean, I think there's like cool things. There's obviously
Chips
your
and
exosuit you're wearing. Yeah, it's like which is your armor ties into all that. There's the implants kind of system. There's like these cool like hover gates. You like walk and they like lift you up to places. Like you get like a grappling hook later in the game to swing to areas like that. Just like cool little things like that. There's robot companions and stuff like that. Just cool like sci-fi stuff. Not necessarily like. To an extent, yeah, it's kind of a window dressing, but like, how do you change a game system so rapidly just from it just being a sci-fi setting compared to a fantasy one? Like, you're not like getting like super laser guns and death blows. You have like a drone, which is kind of cool. You got like enough stuff to separate apart where it feels completely different being in a sci-fi universe. Like, it feels like it's a sci-fi universe for a purpose.
Nice.
I think something that a lot of Souls-like miss for me. Or maybe a lot is too much, but something that I really admire about from software games is that feeling of just kind of stumbling onto a situation. You're like, wait, what is this? What's going on here? Where am I? How did I get here? Who is this person? That sense of mystery and the fact that like, oh man, because I took this left turn, I stumbled into this crazy place or this crazy situation.
That Hollow Knight feeling.
I love the Alice in Wonderland tumbling down the rabbit hole feeling. Do you think the worlds of the Surge 2 or Code Vein give you that sensation at all?
Like, a little. The Surge 2 more so. I think the Surge 2 level design's like way more interesting and way more going on to it. Like, Surge 2 is very dense, lots of ways to go and everything. Code Vein's like pretty, like not super dense. Like, there's some areas that are more dense, but it doesn't feel like you're like going off like some random way. It feels like a lot of times you're following a certain path. So I think Code Vein definitely scratches that itch more, Surge does. But there is a few things here and there I've seen Code Vein where like, hey, go down this random hole in some random area. But you're not going to get that sense of like, whoa, or anything like that from Code Vein, at least that I've seen yet. Can
you talk to me and kind of clarify how the dismemberment system works and how the upgrading works in the Surge 2?
These enemies you fight, a lot of them have armor or sometimes they don't have armor. And when you're fighting them, you can attack certain parts of them. The head, both arms, both legs, and the chest. Now, if an enemy doesn't have armor, you do more damage to them. Oh, yeah. Also, you can cut off all these like areas that I was mentioning, like severing it off. So pretty much you target an area and you just attack a lot. Then after you hit it enough, a prompt will come off where you like chop it off.
What if you chop a leg off?
So if you chop, it's over. The fight's over when you cut off their limb. Like
limb.
On any normal enemy,
okay.
I mean, you're cutting off like their legs, so they're pretty incapacitated. Like there's some bosses you take stuff off. There's a few enemies that you chop stuff off and they're not out forever. But most of the enemies, yeah. So if you chop off a piece of armor they have, you unlock a schematic to actually have that armor. So you're like, this guy has a sweet helmet. I want that. Get that. I'm going to attack his head, chop his head off. I'll get the schematic to use his helmet. So
how are the decapitations?
Pretty good.
That sounds like a really cool
It's
risk
super,
reward system because like if you, let's say you really want that helmet and you don't get it, you don't decapitate him, do you just not get that helmet then?
Not from that guy.
Right,
but
like, so you'd have to wait for another guy.
Like you can get some boss weapons, I think, if you attack certain spots, I believe you can. So yeah, it's cool. It's pretty easy to get something if you want. I feel like if I want that, I can come back and find this guy later.
Are there any things where it's like, man, I gotta get it from this guy or I won't get it?
I don't know necessarily. Like, there's definitely enemy types. Like, there's like a lot of armor types to pick from in this game. Like a lot of different armor sets. So you like certain locales have some different guys associated with the area a lot of times. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna go to this area to find this specific guy, stuff like that. But nothing I felt like, wow, I really missed out on this thing. I think it maybe like a couple boss weapons, yeah, but that's about it.
Nice.
But I was never like, oh man, this sucks because I did not get that. There's always something else you can get.
Are there invasions in this game? Can you invade someone?
No.
Or
not
summon?
that. There was like in the Surge, there was like if someone died when I was reviewing it, like an evil spirit of the guy that killed someone would attack you that you could kill and get like more like currency or items or something like that.
Got it.
But the Surge 2 does like a few little twists on this formula that I think are cool. Like, so your souls, which is called scrap in this game, you can actually bank it in like your bonfire thing, and you could just save it up. So if you die, you don't lose anything. So you don't have to necessarily get a ton and then just like spend it on leveling up. You can just bank it for stuff later. And if you die and you have stuff, you can go pick it up like in every other game, but there's a time limit on it. So you're like, oh, I gotta actually like hurry. A little sense of urgency.
That's cool.
Usually like you can get there pretty chill, but if there's like a guy guarding it or you gotta make your way through somewhere you don't want to get back, you could be like, oh crap, I gotta really get this. Nothing game changing, just a cool little tweak on it, I guess, that I appreciated.
Nice.
I think the Surge 2 sounds pretty cool.
Surge 2 is
I
fun.
kind of want to give it a shot.
Surge 2 is fun.
The Surge 1
I like
has
it.
been on my PS4 for over a year, and I've never even clicked into it.
It's
just
fun.
Like, keeps getting bumped.
Yeah.
And now 2 is out.
You could have fun with the
What the
Surge 2.
hell?
The combat's good, I feel like. It's definitely stronger in one-on-one scenarios. I feel like there are multiple foes at a time, which happens sometimes. The lock-on could be a little finicky, where you're like trying to get a certain point.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's enough there you could have a good time. If you're like looking for a good alternative.
Nice.
It's not going to blow you away, but it's good.
You said that the story is just kind of like,
Yeah,
whatever.
usually.
Does it ever try to do some twist or anything? Does it develop in any interesting way, or is it just
like
really
how it
like, hey, this
presents
is
the
background?
story is more so like you talk to a few NPCs, which is fine. Most of the time you don't know exactly what's going on. There's like weird like flashbacks you kind of see. You walk by, you like see a flashback of something that happened. You're like, oh, okay. That's pretty much it. Like the game kind of puts in the effort, especially later on, but I never really cared about it. I was just like, okay, whatever. It's fine. It's there, but it's okay.
Doing the two back-to-back, Surge 2 and Code Vein, would you say you prefer Code Vein more?
It depends on what I'm looking for. I think at this point in time, I think Surge is a better game overall, but they're offering me different things at this moment in time, so I'm finding different things I like about each of them.
Yeah, I kind of liked what you were talking about Code Vein, where like I'm kind of into these stories and characters, and I think that unexpectedness maybe endeared you to it.
Yeah, that's what. So it's a nice alternative. Yeah, I think Surge excels more in its combat and its world design, but like Code Vein is so Code Vein's all. The character creator is ridiculously insane, Huber.
Yes!
You could have a lot of fun
right
with
about
this. Like, people have made crazy characters. It's like, it reminds me of like Soul Calibers almost.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, I spent a decent amount of time making my character, and then there was another streamer I watched who just literally made Naruto headband and all. So it's pretty wild. They are extremely generous with the options that they give you in the character.
Yeah.
That is absolutely true. Yeah.
Oh, well.
But yeah, I think
Said the magic word.
As Code Vein goes on, it gets better, which is nice. Like some of the enemies get much more tactical, I would say. Like they offer up more mechanics and just a basic attack. Like they do a few new things to keep you on your toes, which I appreciate. So I'm hoping this trend of like progressing, getting better as it goes on continues.
Brett, I think that was a pretty reasonable perspective. I think I'm gonna like wait for you to finish it, and then like we'll talk about it.
Have this conversation.
But yeah, right now, I just don't know.
I mean, there's so many games right now, so it's like hard for me to tell you to play it over something else.
Right.
But I'm enjoying my time with it.
Cool. The Surge 2 sounds very appealing.
The Surge 2 is good.
Huber, you were the one who said the caught in a frame trap word today. Vamps,
dude.
Got us.
And they're like, hey, the vamps are on our side. That's what they said. I really am excited about this caught in a frame trap.
Cool.
We're doing Doom Level or Slayer Song. feel like there's a lot of me coming out here, which I'm very excited about.
Okay.
And it's pretty hard, I think, because you know these you could see them going either way.
There's some overlap there with those vibes.
Start thinking about occult things. Start thinking about satanic things. Start getting in that mood. Okay. Because before we go there, we have some wonderful sponsors that we need to shout out. The first of which is Greg TheDarkKnight Kettering. Thank you, Greg. Next, we have Zoteg. Do you play Final Fantasy XIV? Are you in the Crystal Data Center? Search at Zoteg, that is XOTIG, on Twitter for a link to an EZA Crystal Discord server. I want to play Final Fantasy XIV so bad. I do.
Yeah, it's good.
And then someday, maybe when I'm 80 years old, I'll play it. I don't know. But it's there. The
longing is there.
Next, thank you, Zoteg. Next, we have Accounts Payable, who would like to give us a free shout out. What would we like to shout out today?
Shout out to game developers across the world.
Yeah.
Game developers, they're human beings. They're just like you. They're just like us. They're doing their best, trying to make some great video games. It's good to
No one wants to make a bad
it.
game.
Yep. I think, and I don't really do this, but I think a good exercise is... Okay. All right. A lot of times... Abby and I have been trying to play as many games together as possible, and I really enjoy sharing that experience with her. And I find myself saying something, basically the same thing over and over to her, where I'm like, I can't believe how good this looks. Like, you don't understand. Like, I can't believe that we're here. I can't believe people can put this on the screen.
Yeah.
I can't get over how good it looks. And it's just like we were even playing, we played all of Ratchet and Clank 2016.
Yeah.
Very recently. We played through all of that.
Cozy game.
That game is like, what, 3 years old now?
Yeah.
It looks goddamn incredible.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Those are the wizards.
Yeah.
Just visually made that game.
Yeah.
It's great. Anyway.
Awesome.
Thank you, Accounts Payable, for the free shout out. Game developers everywhere and their passion. Speaking of game developers, our next sponsor is Gift of Heaven. Gift of Heaven is a rad and righteous RPG created by O.M. Hochstelter for your 3DS. In this apocalyptic fable, World Emperor Mackelvis, I hope I pronounced that right, finds himself powerless to conquer the evil inherent in the empire itself. In his unrelenting quest for utopia, he conspires with the last archaic vampire to combine heaven with earth in an unholy alchemy intended to end the world as we know it. At the same time, the dread wizard Killboz seeks to destroy all life by summoning the black hole sun. One way or another, the end is coming, and so is Gift of Heaven when you download the prologue for free by searching the 3DS eShop for the RPG Maker player and searching on the RPG Maker player for the nickname OM Hawk. Check out the Gift of Heaven YouTube channel to watch the prologue launch trailer, a weird promotional short film, and a spooky Act 1 trailer. And let me know what you think in my thread on the Easy Allies forums. Thank you so much, Gift of Heaven. Next, we have Daventry Vaporworks. Thank you, Daventry Vaporworks. And our final regular sponsor is Alex AI. Are you looking for more Sega Genesis soundtracks? Make sure to pack some Shining Force 2 goodness into your collection and support the Allies. Thank you, Alex AI. And now it is time for a mega sponsor! ViewSonic, it goes without saying that gaming relies on fast reaction times, and if you're often finding yourself on the losing end of those nail-biting standoffs, the problem might not be your performance. Might be your monitors. With ViewSonic Elite's expansive line of gaming monitors, users are delivered the performance modern gaming requires. Take the 24-inch XG240R with its blazing fast 144 Hz refresh rate and 1 millisecond response time. You'll experience the hyper-responsiveness of esports pros. And with the XG240R's fully customizable RGB black lighting, users can sync to partnered hardware to illuminate their gaming atmosphere. Learn more about ViewSonic Elite by visiting viewsonic.com/elite, and for giveaways and updates, follow at ViewSonic Gaming on social media. Thank you, ViewSonic, for your support. We're ready to answer some questions about Doom or Slayer.
Yes.
Do it.
Fun fact: what I was originally going to make this Caught in a Frame Trap, I thought was a little too cynical. I was gonna do the names of different currencies. Different microtransaction currencies, and be like, "What game does this belong to?"
That is hilarious.
And then I was like, "Well, maybe
gosh.
after the Funko Pop one, we can't do Soulless twice in a row." All right, Doom level or Slayer song. The first one is Necrophobic. Is that a Doom level or a Slayer song?
Doom.
Doom?
You're both wrong. That's a Slayer song. Yeah.
All right. Well, there goes all my confidence. I
You
was
seem
certain.
so confident.
I was certain.
And
You
I
were
was
very
like,
confident.
Huber probably knows
Yeah.
this.
I actually got a little bit paranoid making this, where I was like, could that be both? Next one, no points on the board yet. Spill the Blood.
Song.
That sounds like Slayer.
That's a Slayer song. I'm going to give you both points.
Nice.
Unholy Cathedral.
Oh, level.
Slayer.
Stage.
Brad's right. That's from Doom.
Doom.
I'm the Doom guy.
You're the Doom guy.
Episode 3. The Living End.
Doom.
Slayer.
Hubert catches up. That's from Doom 2.
Doom 2.
It's only right that like we're all the Doom. We are the Doom.
Us three?
Pentagram or
I
something.
like Doom.
I like Doom.
Yeah, dude.
Perfect Hatred.
That's got to be a Slayer song,
Slayer.
right?
You're both wrong.
Damn it.
Ultimate Doom.
This is impossible.
Perfect Hatred.
But their stages sound like songs, man.
this
That's
is-
why it's so good. All right, so that's gonna be a 2 and 2. Double cut and a frame trap. You guys will have to break us out of here. I guess if you would like some inspiration, you could go Doom or Slayer focused.
Yo, I'm gonna
You both got to do it, yeah.
I'm gonna load
The shotgun?
the shotgun. Throw it to you.
Okay.
Get us out of here.
Okay.
Boom! Oh!
Nice.
Just trying to do the like.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's not wait any longer. Let's talk about that Shenmue 3 demo that you just got done playing on stream.
Hot off the presses.
Hot off the presses.
The trial backer edition.
Yeah, I didn't remember the exact language
Yeah.
of it.
Trial
what was
backer
it again? Yeah,
edition.
trial backer edition. Yeah.
On the Epic Games Store.
Only.
Controversy there, yeah. The whole, what version are you getting? But yeah, Shenmue 3.
Yeah. Let's
just
talk about
played it.
Shenmue 3. Let's focus on Shenmue 3
We just streamed
specifically.
it. We played it.
Multiple times, I think, right?
Yeah.
2 times.
I checked in.
First in English, second in Japanese.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Might as well.
What was
Yeah.
the better experience?
They're both so different. You know, the English has the charm and the vibes, but the Japanese, because of the language barrier, I think you can get away with more. For me, where it's like, it just seems more like intense. I mean, they could be like not. I don't know.
So you're saying like it's harder for us to tell bad Japanese voice
Yes.
acting compared to
Yes.
English?
Right,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
But man,
But the English
the
is so.
English dub in Shenmue, yeah.
Yeah.
It's iconic.
So.
Right. But I mean, you played it at E3.
Yeah.
So
So
this
it
is
was
not your first time playing.
Correct. Yeah. So it was the same area, Bailu Village, same area at E3. It was 10 minutes. You can run around for 10 minutes. This was like a day in the village, so we were free to roam around, talk to people, explore, and gamble, lose all of our cash. Brad won it all back in the turtle race, though.
Yeah. That was tough.
Yeah. And just
Wait, what race did you just say?
turtle. There's turtle
Turtles.
races.
Yeah.
You bet on a turtle, and then it's a mini game where you have to just keep mashing.
It's like a
the
Mario Party game.
The button. The mini games were so freaking good.
I want to race
Ben.
turtles.
Yeah, it's delightful.
Okay, so give me the breadth of the mini games. What are we talking about here?
So we're talking about the horse stance, learning kung fu. You have to keep the meter will go down, and you have to keep it in the green line. So you're like pressing A accordingly to kind of keep it floating there.
Yeah.
There was the 1-inch punch one, which is like these things that go like this, and as soon as they're together, you punch. There was the wood chopping one, where you're going like this, and you like slam down on the wood.
Okay.
There was the turtle race. There was lucky hit.
that sounds like a pretty reasonable amount of stuff in
Yes.
this one trial area.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, I mean, there's nothing really new to say because it was like the same exact demo, and there's no real story in this demo. It's like, yo, go find the man with the scar on his face. He's a bookie.
Okay.
That's the extent of the story, honestly. There's nothing else to really sink your teeth into. So it's purely just like, feel the vibes. Play with the mechanics. That's really what this demo is all about.
So I have two questions.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of the criticism that has been levied against Shenmue 3, outside of the Epic Games Store stuff, is how it looks visually. Mm-hmm. What are your impressions with the trial version?
I'm really, really happy with the way this game looks. I think it's improved each time it's been shown, which is really encouraging and really awesome, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, every time I see it, I'm like, oh, it looks even better now. Oh, it looks even better, which is great. You know, I don't know how they did it. Brad and I just kept talking about it, and when I played it at E3, same thing. It's just, I don't know how they freaking managed to pull it off. It feels like a Dreamcast game in the best way possible, but also, this is 2019, you know? So it looks good. It does look good for just a normal game, I feel like, the environments especially, but it still has that Dreamcast charm.
Man, it's so funny because I feel like this exact sentiment, almost in its entirety, except for the Dreamcast part, can be applied to, well, maybe even the Dreamcast part, can be applied to Bloodstained, where it just kept improving visually, and it has that classic feel to it in the best way, like you were describing.
Yes.
And so it's interesting,
Absolutely.
Both of these Kickstarter games side by side. But anyway.
Yeah. And then, nothing really new to report if you've been following the Shenmue impressions. I mean, the last time we did it was E3. But at E3, the one new takeaway, at E3, I wasn't convinced on the combat. I was really nervous because I got thrown into it. It felt really weird. Combat this time, we got to train, we got to spar, we got to fight. It felt good. You felt the sound effects, the music. You have like your moves, and it's basically combos to do a move. So it'll be like, all right, tornado kick, AAXX. So you do like pop, 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 and then he'll do the tornado kick. But then you also have like punch, kick, block. The blocking energy meter was really cool. It's like every time you take a hit, your stamina goes down. So it's like you really got to time your blocks and dodges. Like it's not going to blow anyone away. It's not like the best combat by any means. But
it sounds like what you're saying is that it's a good evolution for Shenmue.
I think so, yes. Okay. Absolutely. Especially going back and replaying 1 and 2 earlier this year.
To me, it feels like Shenmue, kind of, but just a more refined version of it, how it feels.
Movement feels really good. Rio is not nearly as cumbersome as in 1 and 2. I felt always in control.
Much smoother,
Looking at things and picking them up is so much easier compared to 1 and 2. Like, we have all those 20 years of modern game conveniences that have evolved since 2 was released. So it feels great, and I'm ready. It's here.
I think something that's still remarkable about Shenmue 1 is how minute it gets in its interactions with things. Like even just exploring your home and taking a look at different rooms, and obviously going around the city and talking to everybody. It's just like so focused in trying to make this place feel as lived in and believable as possible. Do you feel like that level of detail and quality is present in Shenmue 3?
From the small demo we played, absolutely. The kids training martial arts in the courtyard, the woman in the house cooking. Like obviously if you go up to her, she's just like chopping and it's going through the carrot. She's not actually chopping the carrot, of course. There's some Kickstarter limitations or whatever you want to chalk it up to. You know, this isn't the highest budget game ever.
Right.
But things that I'm willing to forgive, like little things like that. But
it sounds like it's trying to carry on the spirit of the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
So really the only thing left for me now is the end all be all. Can the story deliver?
Right.
Everything is in place now. I like the visuals. I like the mini games. I like the way it just looks and feels. All that stuff. So good. Perfect. You know, it's such a risky proposition, like continuing this saga 20 years later, like Kickstarter, there's been so many controversies, I feel like, too, with the game and Sony backing it, Epic Game, you know, there's so much weird stuff. Like this could have been a complete disaster. Everything right now feels good. It's just, can you get me invested in the story? Can it be fulfilling and satisfying?
Do you think you've heard enough dialogue from your time playing it or seen enough about how it presents itself that you are confident that it will be able to deliver? Like, do you think
there were a couple of moments where I kind of see it peaking out, because Shenmue to me is about the quieter moments. It's about the bombs of wisdom people are dropping on you and these long conversations with, you know, conversations with like a neighbor versus
Right.
like you found this martial arts master and now you're going to have a very intimate conversation, you know? So like in the demo we played, a little bit of that kind of shined through, but again, this was very mechanical. It wasn't really story heavy.
Yeah.
So I need and crave and hope for those types of interactions with characters in this game. That's really the only thing left to prove to me now is, can you get there? Can you make me emotional?
So I want to talk about Metal Gear Solid 4.
Sure.
Really briefly.
Sure. This is a pleasure.
Yeah, and Metal Gear Solid 4 was a hard game for me. It was like I got my PlayStation 3 with Metal Gear Solid 4.
Same.
It was a game that like I was just waiting for with bated breath, and I think it was like, hey, Metal Gear Solid 2 is going in a completely different direction than 1. 3 is obviously going back, and so it's like, hey, we're wrapping it all
Culmination.
up. We're putting a bow on this. And so I had huge expectations because I was so desperately invested in the story.
Yeah.
And it did a lot of great things. There are still standout, spectacular moments in Metal Gear Solid 4, but there were things that they did with characters or the way they presented things or things I didn't like, or I'm like, this doesn't feel quite right. Because it had been so long, and I had such huge expectations on the story, where, like, you know, you almost wonder, like, are my expectations maybe a little bit too high? I'm expecting too much? All this stuff, those sorts of thoughts creep into your brain. And so the reason I'm bringing all of this up is to ask you with Shenmue 3, when you've been waiting for so long, and now it's finally coming here. Are you worried that maybe like it won't be able to meet this years of wait in your mind? Because you want it to be so satisfying, right? And Shenmue was supposed to be more than 3 games.
Yeah.
Right? That was just another thing to consider.
Yeah, now he even said, he's like, hey, when 3's done, it's not the end. He's already said that, so it's like, what are we getting into here? Yeah, there's definite concern, and I think I'm in a really, really good place with my expectations.
Okay.
Just because of everything about this game. I'm lucky that it even exists.
I'm
lucky that we even get to continue Ryo's journey.
Do you think checking in with the development and kind of the Kickstarter process of being like, hey, here's where we are now, kind of helped that process along?
I think so.
Where it's not just like, hey, we're gonna make Shenmue 3, see you later. Like,
totally.
you've gotten updates along the way.
Yes, it's been their Kickstarter update like 160 something. There's been so many, and just checking in. It's I'm actually like weirdly, which is not usually the case. I'm a realist with this. You know?
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
It's not usually the
It's
case.
not usually the case, but I am I'm keeping my expectations and hype somehow in check. And I think it's honestly just because just lucky to be here. You know?
Just happy to be here.
Just lucky to be here.
It's good. I'm glad you're in a good place.
Yeah.
I think that was I believe you.
Yeah.
I believe you when you say you're in a good place.
2 months out. End of November.
It's coming, dude.
2 months. Shenmue 3 will be...
I'm worried about your heart because we've got Shenmue 3, and then by the time that your heartbeat gets to a normal place, you're going to be in Last of Us 2.
Then it's Last of Us 2. And then when that finally ends, it's like, oh, hey, Cyberpunk 2, don't forget about us.
And I'll just be
before
playing Phantasy Star and being like,
February,
nice job, Huber.
February, March, April, Last of Us, Final Fantasy 7, Cyberpunk.
Phantasy Star 2.
Is when, though?
Please
say
I
January.
guess I'm just thinking early next year, but I think that's just like me trying to will it into existence.
Let's will it to January,
I'm not sure
dude.
that's actually true.
Let's put it in
That'd be nice.
January.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
January, and then go into February with Last of Us 2, and then go into March with Cyberpunk and Final Fantasy 7. And then I think, honestly, really, we just close up shop.
We close up shop. We'll be back next gen.
Here's what they say, You got to end on a high note.
Yeah.
Why not stop
Well, they're
at
probably
the
going to end the
top?
generation like around that time.
Yeah.
It's going to be the
We'll
end.
be going right into the next generation.
Here we go.
The break will
Buckle
be
up,
short.
dude.
Yeah. Okay.
Too good.
I want to talk about Shantae and the Seven Sirens, which is in a really interesting spot because it's not completely out, but it came out with Apple Arcade, and it's not the full game. It is episode 1.
Is this exclusive to that?
Right now, yes.
Okay.
It's the only way that you can play it right now is episode 1 on Apple Arcade, and you'll be able to play the full game and a bunch of other stuff later down the line.
Really quick question. You know I'm big on timelines. I've always been curious about Shantae and wanted to get into this.
Yeah.
But there's like 9 of these games.
Yeah.
Where does this fall? Is this sequel, prequel,
This is
remake?
I believe this is directly after Half Genie Hero.
Nice. Which is directly after another one. Like this is. Continuation.
Check the Wikipedia
Timeline
page.
and I gotta be honest with you. Timeline and story is not why I play Shantae, so it's not like
Shantae
it's not like a
universe.
My first Shantae was Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, and the reason why I'm playing this is I loved that game so much I did it. Don't skip on it if you want to check out that video. And so I'm like, yeah, give me more Shantae.
Because there was one I wanted to get into, and I looked into it, and it was like it picks up immediately where this one left off, and then I was like, oh well.
Yeah, I can't speak super authoritatively about the story of Shantae, but
it's just my issue, man.
It's
on me,
it's
dude.
not like
I know it's completely
it's just
unnecessary.
very charming,
Yeah.
and it's not.
I know.
Yeah, okay.
I understand.
I mean,
It's me.
I understand.
You can approach games however you want. It's not why I'm playing Shantae. Gotta be honest. I love the characters. I love the charm, but it's not. I'm not like. What's gonna happen? It's not like that for me. It's not like that. And so I kind of actually want to talk about it from this perspective. And I have to say, this might just be a me thing, but I love the episodic structure because I was like, I get to play like 3 or 4 hours, something like that. A small, very small handful of hours. Then I'm out and I'll see it for part 2. My save data will carry over.
So cool.
It was just nice being like, okay, this wasn't a huge commitment, and not even that the full thing would be a huge commitment, but just like breaking it up and having something to look forward to in my current situation. That's a pretty swell deal.
Yeah.
Also, playing it on Apple Arcade with a controller, that was great. The only thing that I will say with Apple Arcade, if you are intending to play it this way, is the load times in between areas and fast traveling felt a little bit longer than they needed to be.
Got it.
Where it was like, oh yeah, we're loading.
Yeah.
Not ruinous, not absolutely terrible, but enough that I think it warrants mention.
Noticeable.
But it's funny, and maybe we should have done this back to back. I feel like so much of what we were talking about with River City Girls is applicable to Shantae and the Seven Sirens, where and Shantae in general, I would assume, is just like these guys know exactly the type. This is a Metroidvania game, yes, absolutely. And they just make everything feel good, and they don't go out of their way to explain a whole lot because it's almost like they're reaching through the screen being like, hey, man, we like games. We know you like games, too. We know that you know how this works. And so we're just going to make Shantae feel fantastic to control. The way that you move throughout this is great. And you're going to get abilities that make it even... Doesn't it feel good just breezing through a world? Here's this ability where you can dash super fast. And we know you just want to dash all the time. We know that when you play Ocarina of Time, you're just rolling all the time anyway. We're going to give you that feeling. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say is there's just really an awareness of what makes these games fun, and they capitalize on that. I do think... it can work against it a little bit, and I ran into this with Pirate's Curse as well, where it is definitely a little bit overly cryptic, and there are things to kind of combat that, where it's like, hey, if I go into town and I talk to people, I can get a hint. But there are definitely times where it's like, wait, where do I need to go again? What thing do I need to do? What do you want me to grab? There is a little bit of that. So if that is off-putting to you, know that is there a little bit, and you might have to look something up if you get stuck.
I finally looked one thing up in Hollow Knight. I was like, dude, where do I go right now? I had to do a bit. I'm sorry. Don't
No. It's
forgive me.
okay. Like,
Don't apologize.
Yeah.
I look up stuff in games. If you get stuck and you're like, I need to move on, I don't think there's any shame in looking stuff up.
Because you were like, yo, don't like try to keep a lot of the stuff hidden in Hollow Knight because there's so much like discovery, you know?
Right.
So it's like I don't want to like
I think
stumble upon something accidentally because like that magic is such a big part of it, you know?
everybody needs to draw their own line with every game.
Totally.
And it's a case-by-case basis. And, like, it's okay. It's okay to look stuff up.
Yeah.
Like, it's about enjoying the game, right? I feel like the general mentality that I try to take with games is it's you if you are stuck and you're like, okay, I'm going to try something, and then you like don't try it, and then you're like, okay, well, I'm out of ideas and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Then it's like, okay, I made an effort to try to get going.
Totally.
And it depends on how much time it has. It depends on how you're feeling. It depends on the game. It depends on all those things. But like, I am a literal believer in play what you want to play and play how you want to play. Yeah. whatever. I'm not here to shame you
Yeah.
or myself with how you play games. If you want to play on easy, that's fine. It's
Throw
okay.
it down on easy.
You know, like, video games are meant to be enjoyed. It's okay.
Yes.
Calm down.
Yes.
That's how I feel.
When
Anyway.
you're not having fun, change it up.
Right. Anyway, Shantae and the Seven Sirens. Going back to this, so I think generally if you want that kind of game, it's really cool. And it's just, it does have incredible personality to it, where when you get new abilities, it's like, oh, I'm transforming into this other little creature. I'm transforming into this newt, or I'm this drill, and I can dig through this sand.
Awesome.
And so just visually it looks really cool, and mechanically it feels really cool. And beyond that, I think particularly like the dungeons where you go and you fight a boss are really, really smart, where it walks that line of like, okay, I get to explore a little bit. I get to, and this is just episode 1, keep in mind. I get to explore a little bit, and I have to figure some things out, but it's not so sprawling that I feel fatigued by the time I'm at the end of the dungeon. I'm like, that dungeon, and Link's Awakening actually gives you the exact same vibe.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, I have to spend a little bit of time figuring this out, but it's not like I'm spending hours and hours and hours on this dungeon. Like, I get in, I solve this thing, it feels really satisfying.
Nice.
They're different from each other, and I have to, the final boss that you fight in this episode, I don't really want to spoil it, but I was like, this is just fantastic. Where I ran into it and I'm like, how do I hurt this thing? And I didn't know, and I thought about it, and I tried this, and I tried that, and then I'm like, wait, what about this? And it's one of those things where they give you enough variables that you might go through a process of figuring it out, but there are not so many variables that you feel completely overwhelmed. And then when I finally got it, I was like, oh, that's so clever. I had to pay attention to the environment, what the boss was doing, my situation, and then it happened. And so it was really satisfying. And again, I think it speaks to WayForward's game knowledge, where they've been doing this long enough and they're big enough fans of games, they know how to, for the most part, design very, very well, just in terms of mechanics and bosses and environments and all that stuff. So it's
cool.
just a very cool game. It's not perfect though. There's this card mechanic that I think is like whatever.
Cards, Brad.
That's always an alarm in my
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw the alarm bells go
Yeah.
off immediately.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
so
man.
it's this thing where when you kill enemies, you'll collect cards of that enemy. And then if you collect enough of that enemy, you'll unlock like a little bonus that you can get where it's like, oh, I'm a little bit better at doing this, or I can do this new thing, or like, spikes don't hurt me or whatever. And so you can equip 3 of these and they're just little boosts. It just sort of feels like it's there. It doesn't feel like it's necessary. It feels like you can completely ignore it and you're not missing out on much. Because you still have the upgrades from the item shop, which do feel very
Substantial.
dramatic.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, hey, I can do more damage with my hair whip, or I can make my hair whip faster, or I can get these sub-weapons or whatever. And so that's there. And this just feels like another system that I was like, oh, I completely forgot about this and I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
it just isn't... I don't know. It didn't make a strong enough case for itself to me. But yeah, Shantae and the Seven Sirens. Shantae is a series that like I've been interested in since the
Yeah.
Game Boy, and then I took the dive with Pirate's Curse, and I'm
So
super
cool.
glad I did. Obviously, can't speak to the whole series, but I really think the series is underappreciated, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of people would like it. Just give it a chance.
Totally. Every time I see it, Ben, I'm like,
Yeah.
Same with Wonder Boy and Monster Boy, whatever
Right,
that whole
right.
franchise is. I want to jump in, but
Yeah.
something keeping me at bay. I don't know.
This could be the one.
Yeah.
Give it a shot. All right. The last game that we're going to talk about is Huber. You just today,
Hot off the presses
hot off the
again.
presses again, just finished Astral Chain.
Astral Chain.
What did you think?
Started high, ended low.
Oh,
Started high, ended low.
It was funny because
yeah.
before I got you on this frame trap, I was like, man, I'm really excited to talk to you about frame trap because I think
Yeah.
he'll have a different take than me.
Yeah.
Because he's just so high in it right now. And then,
Yeah.
and then you finished it, and I'm like, oh no, we basically had the same experience.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because this game has like a lot of good things. There's a lot of good parts, right? Like I like the cop drama part where I'm like investigating. I like the combat. It's phenomenal Platinum Games combat. I like this world we're in, this like futuristic Ark City.
Yes.
I like it. you know? And then it just started getting too samey. Everything wasn't like gelling together.
What do you think it is about the game that made it too samey for you?
The level design destroyed me, dude. It got so boring, just really linear paths. Everything felt constrained and restricted. You keep going into this astral plane.
Yes.
It's all red.
Yes.
And just, it's a bore to navigate. It's just boring, dude. I don't like being in there. I want out.
Well,
Get me out.
It's kind of frustrating because visually it's extremely bland and you really do go there all the time.
Yeah.
But mechanically, that is where you're doing a lot of the non-combat, non-investigative things. You're doing a lot of the, like, platforming. You're doing a lot of the puzzle solving. And you're like, man, this stuff is kind of cool. I wish it just visually looked a little different.
Yeah.
It's just like we were in some other place.
It's
like this place is fine sometimes.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, everything about this game is very sound, you know? They're good puzzles. Wasn't stuck too long. It's just like, it looks so boring, dude. Get me out of here. You're like in this just red cube world, and it's like, jump up this block, and then like move this block, and then shoot that floating thing over there, and it's just like,
Yeah, it just sounds like you go back to the well
you get out to the well too many times. It loses so much steam, dude. It loses it.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because the main way for combat are the 5 beasts you get, or the 5 legions you get. So it's like every time you get a new legion, it's like, all right, combat's a little different. Like, this can do.
Did you have a favorite legion?
I really like the sword one. Axe obviously is cool, but there was something about the sword one that just
You're telling me you're a fan of Metal Gear Rising.
Yeah, it just felt right. The pace of it, the flow, the look. Had like double blades, you know, just really cool. And, you know, you can do really cool things. Like, you're chained up. Something charges at you, you can like move your legion across and then catch it with your chain and then throw it.
That's cool.
You can wrap your chain around enemies and it'll restrict them. The combat, top notch, top tier. Can't praise it enough. Fantastic. But just the game wore out its welcome, and I stopped having fun. So I was playing on PT standard for half or a little more than half.
Yeah.
And I reached a point where I was like, man, I'm just not having fun. I really want to get back to Hollow Knight and Zelda. I want to play Zelda. Bumped it down to casual. Ran through kind of the back half of the game. And don't regret it. Glad I finished it, but it made me think of like swimming in sevens, you know, where it's like getting complicated now because there's like guilty pleasure swimming in sevens that are like not very good, but you still love them. But this game is like good, but I didn't have a good time, so I'm like not gonna say I'm swimming in sevens, you know? It just like made me think of that concept of like I could enjoy a worse game more than a better game. I don't know. Again, because I thought everything about this game was good mechanically.
I think there's a lot of greatness in
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And I do agree with your point about the combat. And not just the combat, right? Like, I think it has to be more than just being mechanically satisfying. You have to encounter things that are fun to fight in one way or another. And there are incredible boss fights in Astral Chain.
Yes.
Just
one of
visually
them like
and
halfway.
the way that you
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that combination of stuff is really fantastic. And I do agree with you. I think visually the world is really cool and there are super endearing things about it. I think Lappy is a genuinely endearing character.
Is that like a mascot?
Yes.
Okay.
That like is kind of adorable and cute and presented well from beginning to end. And just even exploring the city, like the first time I got to the city, I was like, "Wow, this is so cool!"
Yeah, visually it looks so great.
Right, and I think the thing about Astral Chain that is frustrating, that is kind of picking at me, is it feels like it does some things really really well, but spreads itself too thin, and it would maybe be better if it was a more focused game.
Yeah,
or like it's fine that a lot of the missions felt really drawn out to me.
Yes, dude.
Where
some baffling design decisions, Ben.
Yeah.
Like I didn't sign up for this mandatory stealth section.
Sure.
I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
And it's I'm fine with that. And stealth is one of my favorite genres, but it's like you have just let me fight against hundreds of enemies, dude.
Right.
And now one single solitary guard discovering me is like a fail state, restart it.
Right.
I was like, I don't have the patience for this right now because the context is so off.
Right. So in Bayonetta 1, the scene that gets brought up a lot as being a low point in the game is the space area section.
I don't even know if I remember that.
Yeah, the space area section where it's just like, okay, this is a neat thing to do, but it goes on for way too long. I feel like Astral Chain has a lot of those space area sections where like this is going on a little bit too long. We could be a little bit tighter here. This could be, and so I think that is where I'm coming from with it.
There's a part where it's like you have 10 minutes to clean up this trash, basically, Brad. 10-minute counter. I'm like trying to clean up this trash, and it's the most annoying platforming. You not only have to navigate and like change it, it's very like you have to do everything right. You got to move your thing here, jump here, like switch to this, use the cut move, get over here. Like it got to a point where I was like, it's so frustrating. I'm just gonna let the timer run out. So I'm literally just sitting here for 6 minutes waiting for the timer to get out so the person can come back and just like we can move on.
Yeah.
Just like weird design decisions like that. Like what?
Yeah, I had kind of this, I was like, man, there in terms of like side activities, man, there's a lot of different things that you're doing. So it's like, oh, try to balance this ice cream. Cool.
Yeah.
Rearrange these cars. Okay. Go chase after this person. So you're like, you're doing a lot of different things, but you reach a point and like, yes, you can make the argument that a lot of it is side stuff, but it's like, okay, I want to engage with this stuff.
Yeah.
Then you reach a point where you're like,
What am I doing?
What am I doing? Like, why am I doing? Like, what? These just feel like tasks.
Yes.
Like, there's nothing really here.
No fulfillment.
Right.
I'm not feeling good about it.
There's kind of this shallowness here that I wish was like a little bit better. And I think if I was more invested in the characters, I felt more interested in the story. I felt more attached to it. I think it would land with me a little bit harder than it did. But it's like kind of what you're saying, where it's like, I'm here for the aesthetic and I'm here for the combat. And that's really cool, but there's too much other stuff going on that I wish I cared more about.
Really wish they would release a Bloody Palace standalone thing for this game so people could just jump in and play the combat, because the combat is so awesome. It really, really is.
Right.
You know, just
It
give
is
me
awesome,
give me an arena mode and I'll like swap my legions around, chain up, combo, dash, sync attack, like good combat. And the music in the police station, that one track.
Yeah.
Ooh, that is such a good track. That is like my favorite track of 2019 so far.
Wow.
Love that track. Every time I'm like, if you have me doing this in real life, you know, while I'm playing, if I'm actually doing this every time, you got me.
It fulfills the requirement of a song like that, where I spent a lot of time in that police station.
Yes.
You're going there
Never
all the
got
time.
old.
You're there talking to people. You're buying stuff. It's your hub. You're returning there between missions. All that stuff.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get tiring.
Nope.
Yes, I agree with you on that.
Crave that song.
Yeah. So it sounds like Astral Chain. You're happy you played it.
I'm
got some problems.
A lot. Yeah. Stopped having fun. A lot of problems. Maybe would recommend it to action junkies. That's kind of my stance. If you're an action
What
junkie,
about Vamp action junkies?
Vamp action junkies. Yeah.
Cool.
Like Code Vein, you know?
Yeah.
Like Souls junkies.
Yeah, sure.
Dude,
Yeah.
dive in. But other than that, unless you are like die hard, need to play this combat, then
Live
maybe
free
not.
or die hard. Yeah. Would you recommend this Hotake? Try to do a sharp one there. So today, for the Hotake, I wanted to talk about the state of play, and just not only the state of play, but the interesting reactions to it. Okay. Where I think there was a lot of disappointment surrounding the state of play, a lot of like, wow, this was underwhelming. And so I kind of wanted to talk to you not just about state of play, but what these sort of direct from game company things need to be. And how did you feel about state of play? And what are your expectations when a Microsoft or a Sony or a Nintendo gets out there and, hey, we're having this special event, we're going to announce things. What do you think realistic expectations are? There's a lot to unpack here. But.
Yeah.
I think it depends a lot of times on like what's around the corner of like what they have a hint of showing. Like if there's a game on the horizon, like we knew like Last of Us was going to be there.
Confirmed, yes.
So like that's really hype.
Yeah.
But if it's just like some kind of like state of play or like a direct at a weird time or maybe something I don't really care about, I'm just like, whatever. I don't know. I guess it just depends like around the time that it's out.
Yeah.
Because like I saw people were like, they should just do a press conference instead. And it's like, they weren't going to do a press conference. This was just something they were just doing. This doesn't replace anything they were doing.
Yeah, press conference is so much different. That takes so much more prep and setup and a live show and all this. Whereas this is like, all right, we got all the trailers.
A press conference is not guaranteed to be good.
No,
exactly.
it's not.
Yeah. There's a lot of dead time. Like I love these every time. Bonds, dude. Like there's no, I'm sorry. Hear me out. Bonds. There's nothing better than sharing these moments, dude. Like it's nowhere near as fun going onto a website and seeing like, hey, Last of Us trailer.
Yeah.
No.
That's true.
I took a very cynical read on that.
Yeah, we are all together here now watching this world premiere trailer together, sharing the moment.
You're talking about with us in the audience.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about like my bond with this corporation.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, like, and that's why I'm always for state of plays and Nintendo Directs and Inside Xbox, like whatever it is. But like, let's go.
I think a lot of it's presentation and
Yes.
how long it is. Like
Yeah,
some of the stuff they showed in like the MLB The Show, like some people, like I know Kyle was talking about like we didn't really need that trailer. Or anything
Dude,
like that. I'm like,
I'm bummed I wasn't there for that because I know nobody likes baseball, but that is a huge deal because that is the newest MLB free on Plus, which is really unprecedented, dude. Giving away like the newest.
It wasn't the fact of it being announced. Like that's cool, but he was just saying like we know what MLB The Show is. It kind of just felt like a thing filling up time until we got to this certain moment, which I understand.
Got it.
So I think there are a couple of thoughts that I had when formulating this otake that I wanted to run by you guys.
Yes.
The first is that I feel like we are doomed to disappointment with the way things are going. And what I mean by that is people are always expecting a mic drop moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like
that is a problem.
Right.
It's a problem.
Like that can't happen
every time.
all the time.
Yeah.
And I love those moments too. But I think two things. There can't always be a mic drop moment because those are just hard to bring into existence in general. But also, the more mic drop moments you have, I think like the more your expectation goes up for what it can be. And so I think the more crazy things that come into existence, and as has been happening, the harder it is to impress people. And like it's frustrating because I do think State of Play is a good opportunity to show games that need attention, that are these little indie games that don't have these massive franchises behind
Arise
them.
looks so sick.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say. I do think it's a good place for this. And people are just like, where is,
Batman.
Where is
Yeah, some people were like saying like, "Where's Final Fantasy 7?" I'm like,
They
just showed it.
that so
like,
much.
This
Right.
month they
And so-
showed it.
I do think we have to be receptive to new things. However, that being said, sometimes I think maybe they could sell those new things a little bit better. Where I appreciate the sentiment of like, hey, we're just going to show the trailer. We're going to let the game speak for itself. I think that's a valid approach. But sometimes I see trailers for these games. It's like, this isn't going to stick with me. Like I'm not grounded enough in what's going on there. Like sometimes I want somebody like a creator, like I think about the Unravel guy getting out there and seeing him. You were talking about the passion of creators and how far that can go, and people being like, "This is my vision for this thing," and how effective that can be. Sometimes I want a little bit more of that, where it's like, "This is why we're doing this. This is what we're trying to share with the world."
Sure.
I think Sea of Solitude also was very effective at that, and so sometimes.
That's what
with these smaller
Inside
games.
Xbox was doing a lot of. Is like they
I
would
didn't watch
talk about.
Inside
I watched
Xbox.
like some of it, and they'd
John
show
Bernthal.
game, then like have a developer talking about it. The problem about Inside Xbox is I feel like is like their whole approach of like how they talk about stuff, like bouncing from host to host to host to host, and like these jokes in it, like scripted events. Like that could be fine after a while, but I feel like it just goes on a little too long. some of the interviews go on a little too long. It just feels very.
It feels
forced.
For me, I think the state of plays work so well, and like E3 because it's so like tight because we're sharing this moment and it's like boom, 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 boom. Whereas something like that, I kind of want to do that on my own. You know, if John Bernthal is going to get up there and talk about Ghost Recon for 20 minutes and take a deep dive, that's not something we can really share. Like this requires way more attention to listen to this conversation. It's more like watching rather than like hit him with the trailer, hit him with the trailer, hit him with, you know?
Right.
It just seems like it requires more focus to watch.
I think it's better when they do that kind of stuff like in an edited format, like when Sakurai talks about like a Smash thing.
Right.
Or even when they did that deep dive on Final Fantasy VII, I guess, at E3, where it was like all in a video, but it was a little more cut together and seamless, I guess.
To maybe offer a more nuanced perspective to what I was saying earlier, I think what I mean is I don't want it to be a catch-all format. I think just showing a game or even just showing it briefly can be really captivating and intriguing on its own. I don't want everything to be the same. I think my sentiment of like, oh, I want a little bit more of this is like when you're doing state of play, it was like what, 20 minutes?
Yes.
And you only have so much to talk about, and maybe you don't have like mega crazy, super unexpected announcements. It's like, all right, I don't need to know what's on PS Plus this month. I don't need to see a special edition of a console. Like that stuff just from my perspective feels a lot less interesting, where maybe we could amplify the super cool stuff that we do have.
See, I'm coming from the world of Grunbaum where he does not have Last of Us Remastered and he took finally a year off of the show. Lucky him, because he's freaking out. This was like, that was the PS Plus was the main takeaway from my friend who was like, oh my God, the newest show, dude, for free. Like, this is a game he loves and plays so much, but he couldn't pony up $60
and that's
to buy
a really
the new
valuable
iteration.
Perspective to have. Right. Because and we're coming from it like an always plugged in, like
we've got it all.
Yeah. Right. Which is a very privileged position to come from. And so it is. I think it is really good to bring up that perspective.
Yeah, I think this particular state of play, just everyone had this expectation of Batman.
I think Batman
and I think
was
that really
the
hurt
only
it.
reason this whole thing.
The way those like tweets came out and the timing of the state of play.
Exactly. That's why everyone was thinking that.
Yeah.
But when they just didn't there, people were ultimately disappointed and upset.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big factor.
My mentality, my mindset that has done wonders for press conferences, state of plays, what have you. All we need is one. Keep my expectations in check. Give me one awesome thing, and I'm happy. This time, we knew Last of Us Part 2 was there. So it was like, okay, no matter what, this is awesome. We get to see Last of Us. It's already cool. Anything else is a bonus. We see a rise. I'm like, cool. We got a cool new game. We got to see Last of Us. Victory.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
You know? It's not E3. It's the middle of September.
Not,
Right. And again, I think this is another statement that comes with the caveat of like, well, there are people coming from very different perspectives that do need this.
True.
But my thing with The Last of Us 2, and the second point that I actually wanted to bring up, is sometimes it can feel like the sort of process of a game being announced and talked about can just feel so long. And when that happens over and over and over again, if you are plugged in the way that we are, I like with Last of Us 2, it's not that this new stuff doesn't look great, but I'm at a point where like I know like you showing me a trailer I'm gonna play the game. I'm already gonna play the game, and so I don't really need to see any more trailers.
True.
I think what is valuable is someone getting their hands on it. And that is more interesting to me, where it's like, okay, you've seen it. You've seen the tone that it's going to present. Here is somebody giving their impressions. They liked about it, didn't like about it. That I really value. But like, yes, I liked the new Last of Us 2 trailer. It didn't move the needle for me in any way because I already played and loved The Last of Us 1.
Yeah.
And so I know I'm there. Obviously, people are going to be coming at it from a bunch of different perspectives. But there's a part of me that's like, let's do something else. Let's maybe use this opportunity to highlight something that I don't know that I'm on board for or something. And obviously that's partly a selfish perspective, but I have to come at it from my own point of view.
Totally.
Right? So.
Yeah, it's all just expectations, and I don't know. If you show me one sick thing, man, like I'm happy. There's never any guarantees in the video game industry. It feels like there are now because we're getting all of our dreams, you know? So when something doesn't go right, it's like weird now because everything's going right. We're just getting so many great games and so many things are happening, dude. You're getting Phantasy Star Online, Ben. Like that's the world we live in now. So
we don't live in it now. It'd be cool if we lived in it now. But
it's coming though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you think so, Hubert? I think you're being very reasonable about this, but I want you to think to yourself, like, is there a way State of Play can be better for you? Can it be more interesting?
I think I would like a host. I think I want someone coming out and being like, "Hey, welcome to the State of Play." Little more. Talk to me. You know. I think the narrator is fine, but there's a disconnect there. So it's really just like I'm watching a sizzle reel or a trailer reel, you know. Whereas I could use a little more personality, maybe.
Yeah,
if I'm
feels,
nitpicking,
yeah,
sure.
No, I don't even think that's a nitpick.
Yeah.
It's pretty sterile. It's pretty sterile. It could be better.
For sure.
It could be better.
I don't want that.
Okay.
I don't really want like a host talking to me. I think
Even the
think
direct
then
style?
just deciding what I think that's fine if you have like an iconic person or maybe someone who's really involved with the project, but it's just like a random host that doesn't have any connection to it.
You made me think of something. How about that? What if for each game somebody came out
And talked about
and
it.
talked really quickly? So
Sure.
like someone that worked on Arise comes out and be like, "Hey everyone, check out this thing that's coming." Then that would set it apart from Nintendo Direct.
Sure.
Instead of just,
I think it could be better if they could just figure out what to focus the resources on with a particular State of Play. Like, which games do you choose to focus on more than others?
Right.
That's what I think could really help strengthen it. Like showing you more of some game that you don't know really anything about and how they're going about it, as opposed to just showing you a trailer to a game that's already out. Like, is the PS Plus thing. Like, it's cool. The game's awesome. Like, it's great. But it's not the trailer that gets you excited. It's the fact that it's available that gets you excited.
Yeah. Like that was a commercial.
Yeah, that was just a commercial.
Yeah. Straight up. Yeah.
Do you think maybe what is in the State of Play and the structure and all this stuff, do you think it's possibly like an end of generation thing as well, where if Sony had started doing these State of Play sooner and we were doing this maybe a year or two ago, or were we doing this a year ago? But you get the general point that I'm trying to make, where do you think there's maybe less excitement because we're reaching the end, and so...
Yeah, honestly, you look at the heavy hitters left in this generation, essentially, and a lot of people have their mind made up on them. You're either in or out for Death Stranding. You're in for you're just in for The Last of Us Part 2. You're in for Cyberpunk. Like, I think a lot of these games now that are coming out, like, aside from Ghost of Tsushima, a lot of us have our minds made up and we don't need to see any more, really. So maybe because of that, Ben, we're looking for new stuff. We want surprises. We want Batman. We want something new to come out, whether it's a new sequel or a brand new game. We're looking for that. Whereas like people maybe are disappointed in this because like they already have their minds made up on Last of Us. Like, cool trailer, but again, like you said, I'm already in.
Well, in a lot of ways, it does feel like kind of a lose-lose situation where you in mass, you kind of want everything all at once, where it's like, okay, I want a big, crazy new announcement that is like maybe an awesome remake, but I also want a brand new, awesome, big, expensive new game that I've never seen before. But I also want an update on that game I heard about a while ago. Is that still happening? But I also want a new trailer for this game that's coming out in a month, and I also want a shadow drop, and I also want a big new feature for my system, and I also there are just so many things that it could be, and I think it's just like, because all of those notes have been hit by different companies in different ways, like it kind of creates this amalgam of expectations where it's like, well, why aren't you doing that? Where's Ghost of Tsushima? Come on, where is it? You know, it creates holes. Yeah. You know.
And for me, when a press conference doesn't go the right way or in a State of Play, it's like, meh. Like, that's good. You want to know why? Because it can be more hyped for when it is good. You know, the not good ones kind of fill up the tank, so when we finally get that good one, It's electric.
Okay.
It's magic.
I wish
'Cause
I had that ability.
They can't all be winners, you know?
Yeah,
They just
they can't
can't
all.
all.
They
They
cannot.
absolutely cannot all be winners. I 100% agree with you, but the bad ones don't fill up my tank.
Fill it up. Filling them up.
Yeah. It's a good. I'm glad that happens for you.
But it is weird
Yeah.
that there was disappointment because it's like,
I think it was
We're-
Batman a lot.
it was Batman,
It was
yeah.
Batman a lot.
because like we're all here for The Last of Us Part 2, right?
This is not direct.
Like that's
We're
why,
here for The Last of Us Part 2.
yeah, that's why we all are tuning into
When
this state
before
of
the
mind.
show, you were talking about like something about the way the kills were, and I was like, I don't want to know anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I do what I don't.
Yeah.
But I'm in. Is what
I'm
I'm
sad
saying.
I didn't
We're gonna
bring
talk
that up.
about it. What's that?
I'm sad I didn't bring that up in my preview. I forgot.
Well, you can bring it up now.
The detail of the blood from a corpse
Realistic.
slowly spreading into the snow. Mind-blowing details, dude. Mind-blowing blood.
Good blood physics.
Good blood physics. Like legit, the body's there, and I stand over the body because I'm taking a knee, taking environmental knees, I'm taking gore knees, I'm taking all the knees. I stand over the corpse, and the blood just slowly goes into the snow in such a realistic way. Just get out of here, man.
When you can impress Mike on the gore, I think you did a good job.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's Resident Evil 2 gore yet.
I don't think it's that kind of a thing.
They don't have that wet gore.
I feel like you
Yeah.
need a show called Gore Factory.
Gore Factory. It's a good one.
Not directly related to state of play, but do you ever run into the dilemma that you're like, okay, I don't need to know anymore, but I want the thing so bad that I'm gonna take a peek, and you're like, wow, that's really cool. Oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. There's a
It's a vicious cycle.
there's a limit for me. It's usually how far out something is. So we're like 5 months out from Last of Us. Now I'm done. Death Stranding was like same thing. 5 months,
Because-
4 months, done.
Yeah, you paid attention to the position of the moon.
Yeah.
and you were like, it's in that position.
Yeah.
Like Cyberpunk is
Time not to look.
Cyberpunk is still like 7-8 months. So like I'll watch probably one more Cyberpunk. We're still
By the
a
time the year's
ways.
over.
Yeah, by the time we're in 2020, like no
over.
more. Yeah.
I'm gonna say something because I feel like people saying they're in for something or out for something as soon as possible is like a thing because of the internet and just general stuff.
Sure.
I don't know that. I think it is true for some people, of course, but I think people can be swayed more easily than they initially let on.
Sure.
I think like, for example, let's just take
so easily.
Yeah, exactly. I can as well.
Yeah.
I think take Death Stranding for example.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are like, I don't understand this. I don't like this. I don't get it. I'm so out. And then like maybe a review will come out that will articulate it to you in a way where you're like, oh, I'm in.
Yeah.
I think it could go the exact opposite way.
Totally.
as well.
Ooh, I'm out. Yeah.
But like, I don't know. Give things time.
yeah.
Yeah, it's something out
Be
yet.
willing to change your opinion.
Exactly.
That's
Being willing
very-
to change your opinion is
It's
great.
very bland advice. But
No, yeah.
Are we ready for some emails?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Oh, God damn it. Now I'm thinking about Last of Us again.
Why'd you do this?
I was
man?
free
Thinking
for
about
like
Last of Us again.
I was free for like 40 minutes there.
No.
Yeah.
I
Now
give
it's
you
back.
2.5 minutes tops.
The only way to combat it, I was telling Brad, the only way to combat it for me right now is to play something of like equal quality, something revered. So it's like, all right, I got to hop back into God of War now. I got to hop back into Breath of the Wild or something. Like Witcher 3, man. Give me something.
I feel like you're making your own conspiracies for yourself, like for your own self-benefit, where you're like, I secretly I want to jump back into God of War, so I'm going to
True.
construct this narrative that I need to do this to stay away from the Last of Us thoughts. It's like most conspiracy theorists are like just trying to uncover some insidious plot, and you're just like, I just need to construct a way to play God of War again.
How do I play God of War?
Yeah, I think Huber just sets strange rules and restrictions upon himself for
Parameters,
some
yeah.
reason.
Hey man, you got to do what the moon says. I'm just joking around. But our first email comes...
Wait, really quickly. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It's Huber syndroming out. what game do you want right now more than any other game that comes out in 2019?
Oh, it has to be a game that exists.
2019. Yeah,
Oh,
it exists.
in 2019.
The rest of the year, what's the number one game right now you want to play or even it could even be out.
Mm-hmm.
It's already out or it's coming
game
out.
in 2019.
2019 game you really want to play more than anything.
So bad when it comes to picking one, but
Yeah, of course.
There are two that I want for completely different reasons.
Name them. I'll give you two for sure.
Okay, Doom Eternal.
Yeah.
Because
I keep forgetting about it. Oh my god.
I believe.
Yeah.
Death Stranding because I just want to know.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Ellis?
I'm actually really excited for Star Wars.
Nice.
Yeah.
So,
I really want to play that game.
Yeah.
okay.
Like, I really need a good... I really want a great Star Wars game.
Yeah.
It's been a while for me.
Yeah.
So, I'm ready. And Respawn is a great developer, so
Nice.
looking forward to see what they bring.
For me, probably Shenmue 3.
Yeah.
And Death Stranding 2, because I'm so curious.
Yeah, I need
Yeah,
to,
I mean, like,
And
I'm
it's so
super curious
new
about
and
Death Stranding.
fresh, like...
Yeah, like, that's exciting.
Yeah.
with Death Stranding is like, is it good? Sweet, I can move on.
Yeah.
Is it bad? Good, I can move on.
Yeah.
I just want to know.
We need closure.
Yes, I do. yeah, I just want to know. Okay.
Thank you for
I need to
humoring
do a
me.
new timestamp for emails because that one is not accurate. Okay. All right, our first email comes in from Rice Pudding, who says, "Hello, Alice.
Hello.
With the recent release date announcement of The Last of Us Part 2, I've been thinking back to the release of the first game. The Last of Us came out when I was 13 years old and unfortunately broke my parents' strict rule of no M-rated games. I remember asking my dad if I could get it, and it was a pretty firm no. However, after explaining to him that it was made by Naughty Dog, the same people who made my favorite game at the time, Uncharted 2, he reconsidered his decision. Wasn't Uncharted 2 M as well?
Team.
Yeah, I think it's team.
T for team.
Well, there you go. We went out and bought the game on release day, and I was happier than ever. Unfortunately, my dad decided to watch the beginning of the game with me to see if it was okay to play. This is a really good email. Within the first 20 minutes of the game, he told me to turn it off and he returned it to the store. I was completely devastated, and the perfect reviews definitely didn't help me get over it. A few years later, I finally got to play it on PS4, but the initial launch of the game is stuck in my mind as being a pretty bad day. Have any of you had a similar experience, a brand new game you wanted so bad, but that pesky M rating was keeping it away from you? I'd love to hear if any of you experienced this. Thanks, love, and respect.
This is so bizarre. So my parents are amazing with letting me play the graphic stuff. You know, I'm playing...
Couldn't tell.
And it's because of my older brother, like 3 years older. So I'm kind of get,
Right.
I have that head start, you know? It was like, all right, he's the one convincing Mortal Kombat, Genesis, Blood Code, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, I had that advantage. But never any things with video games. Like, my mom knows Resident Evil is my favorite thing. Like, as a kid, too, growing up, like, my mom and I have a bond with Resident Evil.
I wouldn't be surprised if your mom could, like, go into detail about Resident Evil lore.
Yeah.
Barry Bird!
But I'll never forget, whatever reason, I wasn't allowed to see one particular film in the movie theaters when it came out because my mom was worried I was going to be too scared for whatever reason, even though I had seen...
Even though you'd killed, like, 3 people.
Yeah, even though I had seen, like, True Lies and stuff in the theater, my mom didn't let me see Jurassic Park.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
That's a big one.
And again, that came out in the 90s, and here we are in 2019, and I'll never
I'm
forget.
surprised of all of the things.
Of all the things, we still talk about it as a family. My dad was like, yo, I had your back on that one. I had your back. Yeah.
We still talk about it.
It gets like brought up randomly. Because we talk about like my dad and my parents taking me to like R-rated movies and maybe getting like dirty looks because like the movie is like pretty graphic,
Yeah.
But my mom's mindset was always like, you can tell the difference between reality and a video game or reality and a movie. I just want you to be sure you can tell the difference, right? It's like 100%. Like this is not real. But for whatever reason, Jurassic Park was off limits, had to wait until recently.
How recently?
Within maybe the last 5 or 10 years when they released it in 3D. Re-released it in the theaters. So I dove in. I was like, oh, now's my chance.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't think there was ever a time where I was restricted from seeing something or playing something when I think about it. Well, here's the thing, okay? So there's two things, options I had.
Older brother as well.
Matt, my brother, didn't really come into a factor a lot of this stuff because when games became 3D, like N64, my brother was like out. He was done with games. But I always went to my dad more so these things. My dad was so cool about stuff like that. Like, because my dad's mentality was always like, yeah, it's a video game. It's fine. Like, you know. And my mom was like totally fine with it too most of the time. But sometimes she'd be like, I don't know, it's kind of bloody or something like that, Mortal Kombat. But my dad's like, yeah, it's okay. I think one time with GTA, my dad like kind of knew what it was.
Yeah.
He's like, are you sure you want this? And I was like, yeah, it's awesome. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
And like that was kind of it. It was never like, son, you can't watch this. You can't play this because it's too violent.
Yeah.
My parents were always like, it's not real. It's fine. It's not like, it's not affecting me in any way. It's not like messing anything up for me. So it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't really have anything like that.
Like, you're going to think I'm sick and twisted, but I'll just tell you anyway. Classic humor moment. GTA 3. I'm like, hey, Mom, check this out. Just bashing civilians with a baseball bat. Like,
Did she say at least it's not dinosaurs? Like,
like, you know, in GTA 3, dude, when a body's on the ground and you can just keep hitting it with the bat.
I'm aware.
Yeah, and my mom's just like, oh my gosh, like,
Michael,
come on, Michael, please.
Michael, stop it.
And I'm like, Mom, I know it's just a video game. Like, I reassure her too, and she's like, okay, like, come on now.
Mom, check this out.
Yeah,
Like she could have not known. You did that.
yeah. And I think that helped though too, the openness.
Oh, right.
You know,
Yeah.
my door,
I definitely think that helps.
I'm not hiding anything.
Right.
Yeah,
like,
I
hey.
wasn't either. Yeah, it's just like,
I
I don't know, like games. I don't know if I played a ton of like gory games though growing up. When I think about it, like,
it's
maybe
hard
what's
now. 'Cause,
gory,
like, the
yes,
gore,
what gore
yeah.
now is compared to like, I don't know.
Yeah. The blood going into the snow. Everything's just so realistic now.
Like I wasn't playing something like super intense, like The Last of Us, where like you could literally see the life leave their eyes as you're choking them out, or something like that.
Honestly, like
and
what
I'm
was
like 10 and be like, cool, or anything like that.
like what was the most graphic stuff? Just Doom.
Mortal Kombat.
I mean,
Doom.
I think once we hit the GTA era, like then you have a.
But
a
we were
kind of a,
we were in high school at that point.
True.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, we were older. Well, with GTA, I was GTA 3. I was
But
in
I
middle
remember
school.
we were in high school with GTA.
Yeah.
But,
So yeah.
so
Were we?
for me,
Yeah, man,
I feel
it's
like-
PS2.
Dude, I feel like coming to middle school because Cody.
At least San Andreas was
San Andreas for sure.
was
San
high school.
Andreas was-
Maybe 3,
I remember coming to middle school.
maybe
though.
3 in Vice City were junior high for us.
Yeah.
I don't know, sometime in the past.
Sometime in the youthful past.
But like
fast.
Vice City for me was like my dad and my mom being like, "Oh, cool music, good
Yeah.
soundtrack." That's what it was like for us. Yeah.
Nice.
I wouldn't trade my experience for the world. So my parents were actually really strict. They had a no M-rated game policy
Got it.
when I was a kid, and they really paid attention to that stuff.
Yeah.
But it just made the moments where it broke that much cooler. Going over to a friend's house and playing Mortal Kombat and being like, "Oh man, cool! I get to do this." It just added to the sensation. And not to sound like a broken record, but it's really true. They, didn't have all the money in the world, right? So heavily relied on demo discs to play more stuff. Played the demo of Metal Gear Solid 1. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. I need to play it. M-rated. That's a problem. I had to like go on a political campaign.
Yeah.
It was like wearing them down.
Yeah.
Being like, this has to happen. This has to happen. It took a. I don't remember how long it took, but it took a period of time.
Yeah.
Finally broke them down. Got to play Metal Gear Solid. I was like, this was worth
is
it,
it.
right? And it just felt like that. Another one, not video game related, but I remember going over to a friend's house for like a birthday party or something, watching Deep Blue Sea,
Oh man.
Nice.
and just okay, I had not seen gore like that in a movie.
yeah.
My
Pretty
dad and I
bloody.
would really bond over action movies, but the way that he would get around is we'd watch them on TV, so they'd
Sure.
be edited.
Got it.
So we did like a lot of TNT.
God, TNT.
TNT,
classic.
But going over there and watching Deep Blue Sea and watching the shark like mess up those people, I was like, whoa. It was like a mixture of like being kind of excited and kind of disturbed.
Yeah.
And I remember getting my first job and it being like, oh man, like
Look at all
I'm
these
just,
M-rated
right,
games.
yeah, I'm just gonna buy that stuff, and it was just so exciting having that freedom and having that liberation, and I don't think I've ever really gotten over that. Like I love the fact even to this day that I'm like, oh man, like I just buy the game, like I couldn't do that before. It still feels kind of cool, but I do kind of miss those moments. Like nothing is shocking. Like it's very rare that and it's so sad. It's very rare that I see some like fictional act of violence and I'm like, oh, whoa. Like, it happens sometimes, but not that often. Too desensitized.
Just wait till February 21st.
Yeah, it's going to be disturbing.
Probably is going to be disturbing.
Yeah, I'm sure
In
it
like a
will.
really sad way.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Our next email comes in from Seth. He says, poor choices ruin another promising Call of Duty title.
Oh,
Whoa.
Hello, allies. With just under a month to go before the release of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, it seems the game is crumbling before our very eyes. What was supposed to be a breath of fresh air for a franchise that has more than overstayed its welcome is now being tainted by what can only be described as stupid decisions by higher-ups. It's just absurd. This year's installment is admittedly the first one in years since the Xbox 360 days I've been excited for, but now that feeling has faded. Excuse me. Very credible leakers and sources have reported that this game will have a very unfair loot box system and was just changed prior to launch. Apparently, Infinity Ward had a fair salvage system in place, but had to remove it and implement more things in the loot boxes, some of which are weapons, operators, gesture titles, and even sprays. It appears the developers' promised vision and overall dedication to making a great game that's fair, fun, and rewarding has been compromised by higher-ups in order to make more money. It's absolutely sickening. I played the beta, and you could tell Infinity Ward poured their heart and souls into this game with a brand new engine, great sound design, and visuals.
Such good sound.
It is
Thank
very,
you for calling that out.
Yes, you're right. And a very fun shooter overall. I was excited to enjoy a Call of Duty title again, but this just ruins it for me. So here's the question I have for you and the panel. I apologize for the long sign-up. I want to support this developer, but cannot stand how Activision is meddling with the game. I think the game is super fun to play and feels great, but I think the implementation of weapons and operators and loot boxes is greedy and rewarding. It's basically a pay-to-win system and completely undercuts the vision the developers were going for.
Is it?
Is purchasing this game wrong, or should I just pass on it? What can possibly be done to send the message to Activision that this and the one-year exclusive PS4 content isn't okay? It's not fair that these developers who genuinely care about their game and audience have to face this kind of backlash, but it almost seems like something that needs to be done to get rid of these awful choices being made just to make easy passive income.
I'm very confused right now.
So
I'm extremely.
I was actually hesitant to read this email on FrameTrap for two reasons. One, leaks and rumors.
Yes.
This game isn't out yet.
Yeah.
And so I'm hesitant to being like, I don't want to slam the gavel down on this being awful when we don't know for sure yet.
Yeah.
The other thing is Infinity Ward got out there on Reddit and basically said like, hey,
people above our pay grade.
no, they're just
he
like,
said that on
Twitter.
Twitter.
Did he? Oh, okay.
Decisions by people above our pay grade.
Okay. So there are
Yes,
so that
there's
lends
tweets out there, yeah.
that lends credibility to this.
I don't know if it was about necessarily that though. I think it might have been about the exclusive, like is it Spec Ops. I think it is exclusive, like
Spec Ops survival
the year
mode.
long.
Right,
it's
right,
a
right.
year
Right.
exclusive thing.
Well, there was a Reddit post by an Infinity Ward developer where it was kind of vaguely talking about like, hey, there's a lot of stuff out there. Maybe take it with a grain of salt. I'm heavily paraphrasing what this Reddit post said, but I think the general thing that I'm trying to say is this game is out, not out yet. We don't know for sure.
Right.
However, I ultimately decided to bring it up because it's not like this is Activision or even Call of Duty's first go-around.
Right.
Yeah.
We have very recent examples of things looking very bad. I think Crash Team Racing is a good example to bring up and people's frustrations regarding that.
What were the frustrations?
Where it got like the game came out, got all this praise, and then it got more insidious over time.
That's what Call of Duty Black Ops 4 was too, right? They added like
Right.
They
I'm
added
not
later.
as familiar with that
Yeah.
setup, but yes.
But a lot of that
yes.
stuff I feel like was just cosmetics.
I don't know if it
Can't
was.
confirm.
But that's
But
that's part of the frustration of this is it doesn't always feel transparent, and
Yeah.
and it especially doesn't always feel immediately transparent when the game is coming out or before when the game is coming out. I feel like there's like they're not getting out there and explicitly saying, "Hey
Yeah,
man,
on
this
purpose.
is how it's." Yes, they keep it as vague as possible. Sometimes they don't even go the full extent of it, and then the game comes out, and then that stuff sneaks in, and it just feels all sorts of bad and unnecessary, especially when these games are otherwise great, and that's what makes it so frustrating. And I want to speak to Seth's confliction because I think it is very valid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, microtransactions are kind of annoying usually. Like, they annoy me. If they're just cosmetics, I don't care. Do what you got to do. Whatever, man. Like, you want a cool little purple hat in a loot box? Go for it. Like, I can only speak for myself, where if it's all cosmetics, I'm going to play the game normally and not overthink it and not worry about it. Personally, once you start getting in to weapons and abilities and kill streaks, that's a complete Battlefront 2, then it's a completely different thing. Then it is a big, big, big problem. Like Battlefront 2, when it launched, you pay a bunch of money, your grenade just does more damage over a wider radius. You have a clear advantage because you're willing to drop a bunch of hard-earned cash in there, you know?
I'm gonna push back against that a little bit because I feel like it depends on the game. There are some games that have cosmetic DLC. Where it's like, why would I even want that anyway? That just looks like garish and awful.
Yeah, I usually don't care. I'm usually cool with like some of the first cosmetic unlocks.
But then I think about a game like Overwatch where the outfits are so amazing.
Incredible.
And I feel like I've run into that position where it's like, man, this is so cool. I really like this character right now. Oh, I hope I get it. I guess I'm just going to buy some loot boxes.
But I think Overwatch, like, I like it because there's so many heroes in that game, but I only play a few. I haven't played in years, by the way. But when I was playing, it's like, all right, I got my Roadhog, I got my Junkrat, I got a couple
Reinhardt,
people,
yeah.
Reinhardt, obviously. At least I can get coins. And if I really, really want something, I can set my sights on it. So it's like, all right, I'm going to just save up my coins. I get some trash from loot boxes, but at the same time, it's like, all right, I got the one Reinhardt skin I care about. And then literally, I stopped caring about loot boxes in Overwatch because I got the one Reinhardt skin I wanted.
But don't you think on some level, though, that maybe we're just like uncomfortably making peace with it, like uncomfortably swallowing it, where it's like, well, you know, I guess it's not so bad. That's a weird thing to say about a game that you spend $60 on. Where
Correct.
like,
100%.
I guess I can live with this. Like, and I'm okay. I want to make clear, I don't
You're right.
think this is a life or death situation necessarily. I'm not trying to give this. I don't know.
But no, you're
Suppose
right.
It doesn't need to be qualified.
I think both points are good, Ben. Because I'm kind of on the other end where, like, again, if it's cosmetic, whatever, do what you want to do. I don't give a rat's ass.
Right.
Go for it.
And this is
Look
honestly
how you want.
a conversation, Hubert, where I feel like I'm teetering all the time. I'm like, it's not so bad, or it's really bad, or it's not so bad. And I think part of that is I'm kind of exhausted.
It is exhausting.
It's exhausting. Where it's like I don't. You just get to a point where you're just like, man, I just really like video games and want to play them. You know, and it's like, I guess, like, whatever, fine, okay, I can get the starter bundle.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like you just feel a little beaten down.
Starter
You're
bundle,
like,
dude.
It's fine, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't like them like hiding stuff, information.
Yeah.
That's what like really annoys me.
Honestly, it's unacceptable. Like, dude, when the Call of Duty event or whatever rolls around, like, we want answers, you know? Stop hiding.
Simple question.
No, honestly,
Yes.
dude, like, simple question.
It's like, this game's coming out on this date.
game's-
You're not delaying it.
yeah.
Tell me. You know what's exactly in this game.
Tell me, when do the microtransactions drop? oh, we're not going to talk about that.
Right.
No, well,
Right.
no.
It's all so calculated, right?
It's manipulative.
Right.
It's sketchy.
And then like you get developers out there that are like, hey guys, like we really do love this game, we're trying, and it's like, okay, yes, but you're also not like being upfront about this stuff, or why is all this stuff happening? Like it really does feel like higher pay grades are just making everything feel hollow.
Mm-hmm. And not Hollow Knight.
No, Hollow Knight you can get for $15 and be like, wow, that was a great decision.
Yeah, man. Like, as part of like his question of saying like if he should support it or not, like that's gonna have to be a decision you come up with on your own.
Right.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to think about this. Like, yeah, do you really want to support the devs? Like, you can buy the game and play it and have a good time.
Yeah.
But they'll know if you bought things or not, and they have data to see how many people have bought and stuff. And until people stop buying stuff and they're not making money, they won't stop.
Yep. But it's like my dad says about Dodger Stadium. Just keep raising the price.
Because people will keep
He's
paying.
like, because people keep going.
Right.
They keep selling out games. They're not just going to stop.
But I do think it is an individual decision.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is if you decide to buy whatever game that you have reservations about, you don't need to like make a confessional about it. You don't need to feel guilt every time that you put it up.
No, you don't.
It's okay. You made a decision to purchase a video game as a decision that you made.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to be crucified over it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, if you don't decide to buy it,
Yeah.
that's fine too. That's a line that you drew for yourself. That was a decision you made. You felt like that was the right decision.
Yeah.
But that doesn't give you the right to like, and I'm not saying that Seth is doing it. I'm speaking very generally. I'm not trying to call anyone out specifically. That doesn't mean like you need to go out on social media and like
Yell at someone?
yell at people or like harass those who do decide to buy it. It's like make the decision that's right for you and move on.
Exactly. Again, completely different things. If it's pay to win, shame on you. I'm not even playing Call of Duty if it's pay to win.
Right.
Battlefront 2 style.
And don't get me wrong, you can voice your opinion.
Yes. Yes.
It's a different thing.
But if it's just cosmetics, for me personally, beat them at their own game. There is a 0% chance I'm spending money
That's not beating them at their own game.
on Call of Duty bucks to get some macho skin, dude. They're like, I feel like I'm beating them at their own game because I'm buying the game and enjoying it on my own terms. I'm going through the campaign. I'm playing multiplayer. They're not getting my microtransaction money, dude. They're not. So I'm not even playing your game, Activision. You know.
I thought you were actually saying a different thing, and so I made a mistake there. What I was trying to say is I feel like sometimes people think they're beating them at their own game, being like, well, I'll just unlock everything by spending a lot of time. And it's like, well, no, they want you to do that too. Like,
they want you to play the game.
Engagement is very powerful for them.
Totally.
Yeah.
But like skins, dude, like, sorry, I want my gun to not have a skin. I'm that person. I don't want your rainbow
I'm
polka
sorry.
dot,
Like
neon
golden guns aren't that
green.
cool. They're just not that cool.
They're not cool at all.
They're not that cool.
Like, I just want my gun to be black or silver or brown, and I'm good.
Yeah, at least for Call of Duty.
Yeah.
There's other games with awesome cosmetics.
Overwatch, for sure. I fell into the trap. They got me.
Dude, like, Fortnite has rad cosmetics like Batman.
Fortnite. Free-to-play
John
game.
Wick.
Little
Free-to-play, it's different, but I'm
still-
saying, like...
Yep.
And I do think that is also a bit, I mean, it's an obvious one, but it's a big distinction to make up. My frustration, I think the general frustration increases when it's like, I paid full price for this.
Yeah.
Or in a lot of instances, I mean, when you buy a game, there's like 5 different versions. Hey, do you want the Mega Deluxe Super Edition?
Yeah.
Also, would you be willing to spend more money? That's where it gets weird.
Yeah.
And like I think of a recent one, Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Yeah.
Some controversy there, time savers and whatnot.
Yeah.
I went through that entire game without spending a cent, and it was 100% fine. I never hit a wall. I was never like, oh my god, I need to spend money. It's just something that exists in the background.
Well, but that seed of doubt is like annoying enough on its own, where it's just like, wait, you just have to like squint and you're like, is this shitty? And it's just like that's. That's not what you want to be thinking about.
Yeah.
You want to be thinking about like, oh man, what cool things am I going to climb on?
I get really mad when there's cosmetics and they're so much better than everything else in the game.
Yeah.
Like Assassin's Creed had so many rad armor sets and weapons that deliberately made the coolest shit.
Yeah.
And you have to buy it.
Yeah.
It's just like, dude, that's really frustrating. When you
That sucks.
No,
Yes.
but for me, for whatever reason, my tastes, I always like the early game stuff.
Yeah.
So I got like just a classic like Spartan looking thing.
Yeah,
and
and
You want the Dovahkiin armor.
Yeah, I was.
yeah, that's chill, but like the
Skyrim.
game is like, the game's like 60 hours, dude, and like,
You want to mix it up?
yes.
For sure.
It's like, I don't want to just wear the helmet the whole fucking game.
Yeah.
And it's like, you made all this rad shit, but I gotta like buy it. It's like, cool, like let me get some of that at least, man.
Yeah.
I'm with you,
Damn.
Brad. Dude, Brad, I'm with you.
I
I'm with
love when you can find the microtransaction currency within the game.
Yeah.
So if I'm not spending any money, at least give me the maybe little chance of like finding some of that stuff in the game to then maybe buy the one thing on the shop I want.
Well, yeah, I think it's always better if you could like kind of earn it some
Yeah.
way.
But it is a shitty thing, Ben. 100%. Like, go away, microtransactions.
I believe Hollow Knight is $15.
I believe it's $15 and it comes with all of the DLC packaged in.
I believe it is $15.
$14.99.
Man, that makes me really surprised, like, or not surprised, I guess just mean like relieved that Sekiro didn't have any,
Yeah.
and that's Activision published.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I wonder though if that's I mean like
That-
that's
I
part
wonder
of
if
the
that was, like,
grand scheme.
If
And
that
hear
was
me
a-
out.
Yeah.
Hear me out. Where like you play something like Sekiro and you're like, wow, that didn't feel nasty at all.
Yeah.
I'm willing to get a little nasty with this one. I wonder, is that part of the grand
up good
scheme
graces?
where like Activision is thinking like, all right, we're gonna make this, level 1 nasty. We're gonna make this level 0 nasty, and then that way we're gonna make this thing level 3 nasty, and then they're gonna be okay with it.
Yeah. Man, like Activision is just a whole different beast on that front. Like them and EA are like the kings of
Kings of nickel and
microtransactions.
diming.
Can you imagine? I don't know how it actually goes, but can you imagine like being a game developer and like sitting down with the suits and being like so excited? You're like, I can't believe that we did this.
Yeah.
And then they just sit there and go, "Tell me about the monetization."
Yeah.
Like
Right?
that's not even a joke, dude. I bet that happens
Yeah.
so much,
So
and they're just like
some variation.
a lot of
that,
these
maybe.
developers are just like so passionate. They just want to make
Yeah.
a great game, and they have to implement this bullshit that they don't want to.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for them.
That's why as long as it's cosmetics, just don't do it. Resist. Resist the urge.
I
Fight
mean, but
back.
sometimes it's not up to you if you're someone lower on the totem
pay grade.
pole. Like you do it or you're
Yeah.
gone.
Like if it's totally case to case basis, but like Project Resistance, the Resident Evil multiplayer game coming out. If Wesker is $9.99,
That $10 is already spent.
it's already spent.
dude, I feel like
Yeah,
there's no
100%.
winning.
100%. They have me.
right.
Yeah, there's no winning, dude.
Everybody's got a price.
Everybody's got
Everybody's
a
got a
price.
price.
Everybody's got a price.
Okay, we
why-
need to end on a high note.
That's why things again, dude. Like Sekiro, it's just these. When things suck, there's also things that don't suck. You know, you think
Yeah.
of The Witcher 3 and that whole, as much as you get when you buy that game, and those two big DLCs, that were reasonably priced. It's like this is the good kind of DLC. Dude. Give me some story expansion, and I'm in.
Yeah.
Give me the old hunters.
I-
Give me Artorias of the Abyss.
I think there are so many things to rightfully call bullshit on in the gaming industry, and people are doing that, and that's good. But boy, there's a lot of good right now, and I don't think
There's so
I don't
much
think
good.
I don't think it's good to get completely swallowed up by
Yeah.
the,
Like before we end,
we
am
got
I-
another email.
Okay, really quickly though,
Yeah.
am I like, is it okay to have my Call of Duty mentality where it's like I'm not going to spend it, so I,
mean,
don't give
I
a shit?
I can't
Is
tell
that
you
okay?
what to think.
Is that an okay stance though? Am I wrong to? Because it's kind of forgiving it by cutting it out of my life and not caring about it. It's not like I'm okay with it or ignorant to it. It's just I know I'm not going to engage with it, so it doesn't exist in my life.
Maybe.
Is that okay?
I mean,
I don't know.
You have to make that decision
Yeah.
for yourself. I've played the Call of Duty beta twice, and I think it's really fun.
Really fun.
I think it's really fun.
Yeah.
I want to play it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play it.
Yeah.
Do I also have to accept that potentially I'm sending the wrong message with my wallet in the most literal sense? Definitely. But you have to make the decision on your own, and you have to be comfortable with it one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah.
Sure.
I want to say, I really want to say, if you don't buy it, that doesn't mean things are going to change.
Right.
But that's a terrible mentality.
Yeah.
It is.
Sometimes vocal people speaking up can have an impact, man.
It has had an
It
impact.
has a lot
It
lately.
has had an
Battlefront, dude, like Shadow War took out all the like
And-
microtransactions.
And I think, Hubert, that's kind of the mentality that I have. And Brad, I'm really glad you brought that up, is you have to enjoy the good and call out the bad. And so it's like, okay, well, let's get this and enjoy it and be vocal about the ways it's bad and can be changed. So it's like trying to do both. I don't know how effective that is, but like it can be hard taking a wholesale. Like if Call of Duty is really, let's just say hypothetically, the best it's been in years, shouldn't that also be rewarded? Like can't we try to like say yes this, no
it's
that?
really hard when there's really great parts of
Right.
things combined with really bad
Exactly.
things.
That is. It's where it gets sticky.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really easy to say F this or whatever when it's just something like lame
Right.
and bad.
Right.
You're like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But when you got like
Right.
a great, when Call of Duty's like great, and you got these terrible things tied to it, it's just like, dude, it feels like a catch-22.
Yeah.
Our last email. Hey, allies. One of my most anticipated games is Ghostwire.
Oh.
I loved Evil Within 1 and 2. That's from Andrew, by the way. Thank you, Andrew. I can't wait to see what they come up with next. One of my favorite parts of the Evil Within 2 is the more open city sections in Union. Absolutely love more sections like that in Ghostwire. Maybe a full open world horror game. What do you want to see? Love and respect.
Ghostwire.
I want to see it release because I'm a
Yeah.
little concerned of Ikumi Nakamura leaving. Who knows what's going on now? It was very abrupt. It was very sudden.
Yeah, I think that...
It was very weird. For her to come out at E3 and be the face of the game
Sure.
and then all of a sudden depart quickly.
Yeah,
It's just a
You don't want to
really-
jump to conclusions.
Absolutely.
I get why that sentiment is brought up, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I just want to see. I want to see a new take on you know, because again, it's an action game. It's more action horror. They're saying. So I honestly I can't even imagine. I can't even desire things because I still don't even know what Ghostwire Tokyo is really.
Right.
But you know, classic Shinji Mikami stuff, man. I want to see new freakos. I want to see new interesting mechanics. I want to see a cool survival horror world, you know, because some of those images from the trailer were really cool. The umbrella people looking like Hush out of Buffy and just like weird kabuki ghosts and stuff like that. I love that stuff. So give me more of that.
I think Andrew is really onto something talking about the more open parts of Evil Within 2, and I think to Evil Within 2's credit, something it did really well is it really did open things up, but it didn't lose the tension. It didn't lose the horror.
Specific points are open world, and it's my favorite balance. I love it.
Right, and so I'm wondering, it's like, well, can we turn that knob a little bit more, and where does that take us?
Yeah.
Right, can we make it even more open? And I know there's a lot of open world fatigue, but I really do think Evil Within 2 was going in a really interesting direction. It's like, well, how do we go even more?
Yeah.
Right, and yeah, I think specifically to the Evil Within 1, what I really like about the Evil Within 1 is just how varied, like you can really split that game up into sections, and they all just aesthetically feel so different from one another. You know, the village feels very different from the like city, for instance. Like it's almost like it's the game shifts, and I love that unexpectedness.
Totally.
And so I think you could do that with a more open world and the themes that they're playing with, where it's like, oh, here it feels this way, it's this type of horror, and over here it's a completely different type of horror. I think could be cool.
Ben, I love that. Yeah, give me different types of horror. Give me
Right.
parts when maybe you strip me of my powers, and it turns into more like
Well, didn't Evil Within do that with like Safe Head and stuff like that? Where
Yeah.
you're much more vulnerable.
Totally.
And
I love that stuff.
yeah, I think maybe that's how they're thinking.
Yeah.
And I think what's cool about like the Evil Within 2 specifically is it you kind of get this sort of like, how can we push this forward?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think it'd be cool to see in Ghost.
God, I love Evil Within 2. I love it.
Brad,
pray we get back to that franchise, man.
Is there anything else that you want?
From Ghostwire. I love the feeling of vulnerability in their games, but I also I don't really like sections too much or too often where you're like hiding from someone like Outlast. That's just like not my favorite type. It's fun.
Got it.
Oh God, I want them to go kind of nuts with this game, like visually and I really liked Evil Within 1 because of all like the crazy different places you went to so much. I love Evil Within 2 also, but I love that about 1. Like,
Yes.
It's really crazy place, this really crazy place, this really crazy place, and I want them to do that just in a different setting. Like, because Evil Within had a very like Western setting, I would say, but this game in Tokyo, I would like to see them have an Eastern approach to it.
Yeah. I don't think I would want like maybe for a section it would be okay, but I don't think I would want to be like completely harmless because I feel like enough games are kind of doing this, like you can't fight back.
Like I like having me able to put up a fight, but there's some. I think it could be valuable at some points where you're much more vulnerable.
Cool.
Because I think you're gonna be kind of really capable in this game, like action hero.
Yeah, it could be cool.
That's okay. I mean, I feel like in some sense you're pretty capable in the Evil Within, especially as your arsenal.
I think
upgrades.
it could be done well. Like in RE4, you're much more capable than you are in like any other Resident Evil game at the time.
Yeah.
But it still kept that tension.
Oh, it's.
They just like brought the tension in a different way.
How can someone consider Resident Evil 4 a bad game? How can it be done?
I don't know.
I don't want to know.
I don't want to know.
All right, that's gonna do it for Frame Trap. This was a little longer, I feel like, than the last couple. Thank you so much to Bradley Ellis and Michael Huber. Always such great guests. If you want to send in an email to Frame Trap to have us mull over it, email askeasyallies@gmail.com. One more time, that is askeasyallies@gmail.com. Until next time.